Chapter 126. Starting from the second day, the hottest topic in Hogwarts became the Chamber of Secrets and the heir of Slytherin. For several days, the students talked about nothing else but the attack on Mrs. Norris. Filch's performance made everyone never forget this incident. He often walked around the place where Mrs. Norris was killed, as if he thought the attacker would not come again. Levin also saw him trying to scrub the writing on the wall with Skull's brand all-purpose magic stain remover, but in vain. The writing was still shining brightly on the stone wall. In fact, the words written on this kind of magic can only be removed by magic. The reason why this line of writing has remained is essentially because of Professor Dumbledore's instructions. For the little wizards, it is equivalent to being reminded every time they pass by, the secret room has been opened and the school is in danger. Therefore, during this period of time, the students were finally a little more honest, and there were far fewer people going out for night walks at night. At the same time, the little wizards are doing their best to find clues about the secret room. There are even more people reading in the library. However, the secret room is quite secretive, and only a few book owners in the library mentioned it in a few words. Levin even felt that if Senior Tom hadn't opened the secret room once when he was in school and killed a Myrtle, I am afraid that the legend of the secret chamber has long been lost in the long river of history. Levin himself also made some preparations to guard against the basilisk. After visiting Larry and Daisy, Levin went directly to Hagrid's cabin on his way back to the castle from the Forbidden Forest. In the original work, the culprit deliberately killed all the roosters raised by Hagrid in order to prevent the basilisk from causing an accident. Therefore, he came here specifically with the intention of asking Hagrid for some roosters in advance and driving them himself. The mastermind had access to Hagrid's cabin, but can he interfere with Levin's demi-plane? However, when he arrived at the chicken coop in Hagrid's hut, he found that someone had already beaten him to it. A figure in a black robe is standing in front of the chicken coop, doing something. Levin could see that her hair was as red as flames, and her identity was obvious. She was Ginny Weasley, who was controlled by the diary in the original book. When Levin stepped into the chicken coop, there were already several dead roosters lying on the ground, and other chickens were clucking, flapping their wings in the fence, and escaping in all directions. They wanted to get away from the evil red-haired killer in front of them, but they were blocked by the fence. The fence that was originally used to protect them has now become an accomplice in killing them. We can't let her kill all the cocks. Levin quickly took action, instant hypnosis. Levin chose to use instant spells to gain the upper hand, and he was also prepared to fight the opponent for several rounds. He knew that the one controlling Ginny now was one of Voldemort's Horcruxes. Although the Tom in this diary is only a student, his abilities are no better than those of Voldemort during his victory. But Levin himself is a little timid when it comes to fighting. After all, he couldn't really kill Ginny, so he estimated that the other party could still support him for a few times. After casting the hypnosis, Quoin was ready for the second spell. But to Levin's surprise, the Ginny in front of him was completely unprepared and fell into a deep sleep. She fell straight forward and fainted to the ground with a snap. This situation makes Levin unhappy. This scene made it seem as if he had attacked the schoolgirl after he was tail walking. In order to prevent attacks from Horcruxes, Levin put an anti-evil magic circle on himself, and then stepped forward to check the opponent's condition. Compared to the healthy Ginny we saw at the beginning of school, she was now pale and physically weak. She had obviously absorbed too much vitality. But Levin found no trace of possession, and the diary was not with her. However, when detecting her mind, it was found that her memory was intermittent and there were large gaps. And the most recent memory is even more confusing. It seems that the diary has more than just a way of controlling her by possessing her. Now she comes to kill the rooster, probably because of the spiritual suggestion from the diary. Fortunately, Levin arrived in time and there were still a few roosters alive, so he selected a few hens, plus all the roosters, and sent them into the courtyard of the tower using the mansion technique. There, he temporarily opened a chicken shed to raise these chickens. After returning to Hagrid's cabin, Levin cast rejuvenation on Ginny. The little girl's face suddenly turned rosy. This way, she won't be afraid of being sucked to death by the diary so quickly. Then, while the hypnotic effect was still there, he hid Ginny in the straw in the chicken shed and went straight back to the castle. Since he couldn't find the diary, he didn't plan to expose himself to avoid alerting the enemy. As for Ginny herself, she came to kill the chicken only after receiving mental suggestion, and she was completely confused. And Levin did not expose himself in front of her throughout the whole process. Of course she couldn't find out that she was attacked. When she wakes up, she will most likely think that it was an accident, or that the diary was responsible, and it will never involve Levin. The next day, which was Saturday, happened to be the Gryffindor Quidditch match. Levin quietly observed the situation at Gryffindor and found that Ginny had come to dine normally and no longer looked as sickly as before, looking very normal. It seems that she still hasn't told anyone what happened to her. This little witch is worried that she is the descendant of Slytherin. Due to the competition, the entire Gryffindor table was extremely quiet. The young wizards of the Gryffindor Quidditch team sat huddled together, all of them looking nervous and taciturn. All because the opponent they are about to face is Slytherin, who has 7 Nimbus 2001. Everyone knows the importance of equipment, but Gryffindor's performance is similar every time. The morale before the game is so low that it seems that the result of this game is worrying. As 11 o'clock approached, Levin followed the crowd to the Quidditch pitch. Today's weather was hot and humid, with the sound of thunder faintly in the air, and a heavy rain was about to come. On the field, Gryffindor was almost defeated, but Harry was still trying his best to resist. Not only did he have to overcome the opponent's ferocious attack, but also the heavy rain and bad weather, and that crazy swimming ball. Levin heard bursts of laughter coming from the Slytherin stands, because Harry was in a very awkward manner dodging the bludger, but he still had the energy to track the golden snitch in this situation. This guy looks pretty good. Next to Levin, Cyrilla commented to Harry, and Ravenclaw's Captain Roger also agreed. Harry's flying skills are indeed not bad. If it were me, I would have been kicked off the broom. Malfoy is definitely no match for Harry. In this regard, only you two can crush him. Roger spoke highly of Harry's flying performance today and regarded Gryffindor as a strong opponent of the Ravenclaw team. He felt that without Levin's escort, Zhang alone would not be able to deal with Harry. While the three were discussing, exclamations came from the stands. The errant bludger finally hit Harry. Harry's body slid to one side on the rain-soaked broomstick, with the knee of one leg still hooked on the broom and his right hand hanging unconsciously beside his body. He caught the golden snitch. Roger yelled. Under the hazy rain curtain, Harry rushed towards Malfoy, who smiled sarcastically. He's going to bump into Malfoy, he's such a vengeful boy. Levin said with a satisfied smile. There was an exclamation from the crowd. With a bang sound, water splashed everywhere, and Draco and Harry collided. The two fell off the broom and slid for a distance in the mud. Harry was pinned down by Draco, his arms hanging there at a very strange angle. Draco on him did not suffer too serious trauma, but he was obviously a little frightened and was struggling to stay away. The rain poured down on Harry's face mercilessly. He lay on the ground groaning. Levin was called by Ronald and Hermione and rushed to the stadium. Update 5/4, additional update 26/51. The sentiment was miscalculated. In additional update, it's not easy to get a new book on the shelves. I'd like to ask for a wave of custom orders, a wave of flowers, monthly votes, reviews, and rewards. If you have votes, please give them to me, the author. This is really important to me. Chapter 127. Without even a moment mourning Harry's injury, who immediately came to the court was Gilderoy Lockhart. Lockhart said loudly to the anxious students gathered around him, "Don't worry, Harry, I'm just about to fix your arm." "No. Just leave it like this, thank you." Harry tried to stop him. "Lie back, Harry," Lockhart comforted him and gave him a soothing smile. "This is a simple spell. I have used it countless times and no one knows how to heal arms better than me." Lockhart said, rolling up his emerald green sleeves. "Everyone, please stand back." Don't, Harry begged weakly. He had already seen through the other person's true level. In the end, Mr. Levin was kind-hearted and couldn't bear to see his friend suffer in vain, so he secretly used counter-spell. So, just after Professor Lockhart twirled his wand and chanted the spell, he lay on the ground in an extremely embarrassed posture. This fall made him look very embarrassed. His originally clean coat was stained with grass blades. But Lockhart no longer had time to care about this, because he found that he couldn't feel his right leg at all. He looked at the trouser leg of his right leg, and then discovered to his horror that his right leg was like a thick meat boot. No matter how he moved his legs, there was no reaction at all. His magic had an accident. Not only did it not have the effect of setting bones, it also hit himself. He had the entire bone removed from his right leg. Seeing his miserable condition, the little wizards around him took a deep breath. Harry even more lamented his good luck. Photographer Colin Creevey took crazy photos of Professor Lockhart. Originally he just wanted to take pictures of his idol Harry, but now he has an unexpected reward. Professor Lockhart has been hit by his own spell. "Everyone, send them to Madame Pomfrey." Levin shouted loudly and took the opportunity to finalize the matter. So, this time it was Lockhart's turn to drink a full can of bone spirit and then stay in the school doctor's room unable to move all night. But the next day, an unexpected news came. Colin Creevey was attacked last night and his whole person was petrified. I heard that he went to visit Professor Lockhart and brought him letters of condolences from his classmates. In the auditorium, Zhang Chu took advantage of breakfast time to share gossip with Levin. "I heard that Colin was holding a camera when he was attacked. I wonder if he caught the attacker. Unlucky children, whether in the original novel or now, who worship the wrong person will bring bad luck to themselves. I heard from the seniors that Slytherin built a secret room in the castle. When his true heir comes to the school, he can open the secret room and release the horrible things inside, so that it can purify the school and remove all unworthy ones. Someone who studies magic." Hermione also provided the information she had obtained. The girl's eyes were a little melancholy, and she was obviously thinking about her bed identity. Levin understood her concerns very well, so he quietly gave the girl an amulet. 4 spells are fixed on the amulet: Detect Hostility, Level 3. Protection from Evil, SMS, Teleport Rune among them. Detect Hostility allows her to sense before being attacked. Level 3. Protection from Evil. The ring-raising technique is specially used to enhance the effect. Although this spell cannot completely stop the basilisk, it can make the basilisk feel uncomfortable when it is close, causing it to subconsciously stay away from the amulet. SMS and Teleport Rune are both one-time use and require Levin to replenish them after consumption. SMS will automatically send a warning message to Levin when the owner of the amulet is attacked. The Teleportation Rune allows Levin to teleport directly to the scene, making it easier for him to buy work in time. Except for the Teleportation Rune, this thing does not contain too advanced magic. Even the Teleportation Rune is one-time use, so it is very simple to make. Levin made a lot of them in one go. But even for batch products, Levin does it very delicately. He followed the aesthetic style of ancient magic guardians and designed the amulet to be made of entangled silver metal vines. It looked very artistic, and the pattern of intellect was outlined on the front of the amulet. After the last pirated book, Levin began to regard this pattern as his trademark. The amulet was given to Siri and Hermione, and even Larry and Daisy from the Forbidden Forest were given one. After the Weasley twins saw the amulet from Hermione, they specifically approached Levin to cooperate with him. It just so happened that after Colin was attacked, rumors spread in several colleges. Especially those young wizards with Muggle origins, most of them have become suspicious. Many people now always move together in small groups, as if they are afraid that if they act alone, they will be attacked. Under this circumstance, without telling the teacher, the students began to buy and exchange amulets, and other devices to protect themselves that they thought were useful. This was the business the Weasley twins wanted to do. With Levin's technology, isn't it much more reliable than these purely metaphysical amulets? They are now in 4th grade and have taken alchemy classes for 2 years. They feel that they are quite knowledgeable in this area and already want to try the waters and start a small business. As a result, they hit it off with Yawen. Levin simplified the amulet, SMS, and teleport rune should be simply removed. Detect hostility is also set to only target magical creatures, and protection from evil, cancels the open loop. In other words, the entire amulet only requires 2 constant 1-level spells, one of which is a castrated version of the effect. Compared with the complexity of the original 2 1-level spells, 1 2-level spell, and 1 5-level spell, the manufacturing difficulty is greatly reduced, and the materials required are also much cheaper. The cooperation method is also similar to last time. Levin provides technology and adds an additional amount of startup capital. The rest of the manufacturing, publicity, sales, and after-sales work are all completed by the twins. The final profit is shared equally between both parties. In addition, Levin also ordered a large number of plain glasses from Muggles and entrusted the twins to sell them together. Glasses cannot block the death gaze of the basilisk, but there is still a cure for being petrified. Not everyone can have the resurrection service of being stared to death. Soon, the twins were making a fortune from their amulet business. Detect hostility. Since it only targets magical creatures, it will not show its effect for a while. But the protection from evil function showed its face for once. A Hufflepuff Quidditch player participated in a Quidditch match against Slytherin after purchasing an amulet. During the game, he was surprised to find that Slytherin's foul tactics rarely hit him. There were even fewer bludgeons hitting him. After the game, he learned that those Slytherin players would feel a headache every time they tried to hit him with a bludger or foul him. Now, the amulet became popular. Quidditch players see it as the best way to prevent foul play, while others count on it to combat school violence. As a result, Levin's amulet became popular for reasons other than the attack. On the contrary, the sales volume of the plain glasses he purchased has been mediocre. Levin was unimpressed. He is not like the Holy Mother who will feed anyone who dies a bottle of elixir of rejuvenation. But he still had the most basic kindness towards the young wizards at Hogwarts. He sincerely hoped that few people would die due to the butterfly effect this semester. Every time he thought about this possibility, Dumbledore felt dissatisfied. 0. Chapter 128. With the arrival of the first winter snow, the temperature dropped rapidly, and the entire Hogwarts was covered in silver, looking particularly clean and dazzling. Perhaps because of the cold, the little wizards like to hide in the common room, because the huge fireplace burning the warming spell makes the whole room as warm as spring. Before you know it, Christmas is coming. During lunch on Thursday, there was an additional piece of parchment on the notice board at the door of the auditorium. Duel Club. When the little wizards saw the name, they immediately became excited. Is the school going to have a dueling club again? A 6th grade student asked in surprise. The last time I heard about this club was the last time, and it has been closed for almost 10 years now. The little wizards around looked very excited, discussing the contents on the parchment. The last time the club was held was 10 years ago, when the Death Eaters were defeated due to the death of the Dark Lord. This shows that the original intention of holding the club before was to prevent Death Eaters. When the Death Eaters disappeared, the club was cancelled. Now it is restarted. The club seems to have a lot of meaning. Among the crowd, Levin analyzed carefully. Are you sure you're not being alarmist? Levin's roommate Steve shuddered. Who runs this club? Could it be Professor Flitwick? I heard that the dean was a fighting competition champion when he was young. Kevin, another roommate of 200, looked forward to it. But Levin immediately poured cold water on it. This club was established with such great fanfare that I was afraid someone wouldn't know about it. I guess it's definitely Lockhart. It can't really be him. Levin has a good reputation in Hogwarts. After hearing what he said, many young wizards believed him and were immediately disappointed. After experiencing this series of overturns, the only people supporting Lockhart are his die-hard fans. Of course, even if Lockhart's name dissuades the interest of many students, there are still many young wizards who are interested in it. Even if Lockhart isn't great, but they can always compete in the duel club, right? Duels are not allowed in the corridors of Hogwarts, and many young wizards have long been broken. In fact, Levin also has some expectations for this. Levin had to endure Lockhart's proud face and ask for his autograph every week, and Levin couldn't stand it anymore. Maybe this time he could get a chance to see Lockhart beat up. So, at 8 o'clock in the evening, Levin came to the auditorium on time. The long dining table disappeared, and a gilded stage appeared along one wall, lit by hundreds of candles floating above. The ceiling became as dark as velvet again, and almost all the students from the school were here, crowded together, everyone holding their own wands, their faces full of excitement. Most students don't know who founded the club and are looking forward to the next activities. Finally, with everyone's ardent expectations, the door of the auditorium opened. Lockhart took the lead and walked in with quick strides. Wearing a purple robe, he walked out of the red carpet in a few steps. As he walked, he opened his arms towards the little wizards on both sides, revealing his white teeth and iconic handsome smile, as if there were invisible cameras. Like filming him. Seeing his exaggerated appearance, the little wizards were about to laugh or applaud. Then he saw Snape following him. The old bat was wearing black clothes that had not been washed for half a year, his steps seemed to be floating, and he had a cold smile on his lips. Originally, Lockhart proposed to partner with Professor Flitwick as a mentor, but this task was taken over by Snape. On the subject of wanting to beat up Lockhart, he coincidentally wrote Levin. Lockhart waved everyone for silence, then shouted, "Come around, come around. Can everyone see me? Can everyone hear me? Great. It's like this. Professor Dumbledore allows me to open a dueling club and fully train everyone in case you need to defend yourself one day. Protect yourself in the same way that I have used countless times. For details on this, please see my published works." Lockhart never misses an opportunity to promote his books. "But we've already bought all his books," Steve reminded in a low voice. "Deb, but it's a pirated version," Kevin added with a smile. Both of them were Levin's clients in the beginning. "Next, please allow me to introduce my assistant, Professor Snape," Lockhart said, grinning widely. "He told me that he himself knows a little bit about dueling and is willing to help me before class. Make a small demonstration. But don't worry, after I finish demonstrating with him, I will return your potions master intact to you." Lockhart's joke, which he thought was humorous, successfully made Professor Snape's lips purse. Levin almost laughed out loud. He was very self-aware that he would never hurt Snape. But on the other hand, we don't know whether Snape will return Lockhart intact. Soon, the two began to demonstrate. First, turn your back to the other person and walk forward to create distance. Then he turned around and raised his wand in salute. At least Lockhart bowed, doing so many tricks with his hands that he almost lost his wand. But Snape just shook his head impatiently. Then, the two professors raised their wands like arrows to their chests. The two distanced themselves, took stances, and raised their wands. 11-3. Expelliarmus. Snape's spell was so fast that he couldn't hear it clearly, as if it was finished in a blink of an eye. Lockhart didn't even react because his body posture didn't change before he was hit. The whole person flew upside down for 3 to 4 meters, fell to the platform with a plop, and stared at the sky with dull eyes. Fortunately the carpet was thick, otherwise I would have suffered a concussion from the fall. His wand flew high into the air and then fell into the crowd. Malfoy and several other Slytherin students applauded. Many girls were jumping up and down, covering their mouths and screaming, worried about their idols. Hermione rolled her eyes. That's it, that's it. If I had known better, I wouldn't have come. This training method is far worse than your original training. Levin crossed his arms and nodded boredly. Then I heard Zhongqiu ask with red cheeks, when will you hold training classes, Levin? Whether it is public classes or private classes. Recently, this fellow's offensive has become more and more enthusiastic, which makes Levin feel overwhelmed. It was Hermione who stopped her. Levin is very busy. He has to go to the library to read, so he has no plans to start classes. Miss Know-It-All stared at the other person with an unkind look. The Chinese girl didn't take it seriously. It doesn't matter. If you don't have time at school, you can do it during the holidays. How about this Christmas holiday? Good guy, why are you waiting here? Hermione said that the abacus beads fell off her face. Chapter 129. At this time, Professor Lockhart probably fell to his waist. He lay on the ground for several seconds before holding on to his waist and staggering to his feet. He looked very embarrassed. His hat had fallen off and his wavy curly hair stood on end. Sorry, the floor in the auditorium is too slippery, Lockhart came up with the worst excuse. The venue is also small, which is very inconvenient for performance, and it's another bad excuse. When he noticed that everyone was looking at him, he coughed twice and said with force, well, you all saw it. It's a disarming charm. As you can see, I lost my wand. Yes, Professor Snape, show them this, what a wonderful idea. However, don't mind what I say. Your intention to do something like this just now was obvious. If I want to stop you, I don't have to try hard. I think that in order to increase their knowledge, I might as well let them see it. Halfway through, he saw Snape's eyes and the wand stretched out in his hand. If another fart comes out of your mouth, there will be another duel. Lockhart quickly shut up. Now, let you experience it for yourself. Now I will come among you and divide you into groups of 2. Professor Snape, if you are willing number. After saying that, he immediately gave up the stage. After saying this, the little wizards looked at each other. Hey? Why do we need to duel? What did you just teach? But no matter what, the two professors walked through the crowd and matched everyone into dueling combinations. Lockhart paired Neville with Justin Finch-Fletchley. Snape forcibly separated Harry and Ronald, allowing the savior to confront Malfoy. Levin noticed that when Malfoy walked towards Harry arrogantly, he had a triumphant smile on his face. They still cared about each other so much, he really made me cry to death. As for Hermione, Snape assigned her to Millicent, and did not notice the girl's fearful eyes. The famous scene of Granger playing against Seven on the court is still vivid in the minds of the little snakes. Only Levin was not assigned an opponent until the end. With a record of single-killing chimera beasts and the endorsement of a first-class knighthood, the young wizards all know his combat prowess. No one thinks they are more powerful than a Kimaru. What Levin didn't expect was that Snape actually raised his hand. Since everyone agrees on Mr. Green's strength, Mr. Green, why don't you become an assistant for the time being? The job is very simple. If you see any troll who wants to violate the rules, just give him a slap. The old bat has changed his gender, and he is actually arranged to be an assistant coach? Levin looked at the other person, and then faintly sensed the malice hidden under the other person's expressionless face. Okay, he probably understands the other party's plan. However, a teaching assistant should be a teaching assistant, therefore, Levin also came to the little wizards, ready to maintain order at any time. If you are not going to duel with words, then wave your wand quickly. This is not my potions class. Snape said impatiently. Okay, now, face your partner. Lockhart returned to the stage and shouted, take a bow. Raise your wand and get ready. When I count to 3, I will use magic to disarm the other party, now I can only disarm them, we don't want an accident. The moment he finished reading the last word, Northwest Shangzi became a mess. Everyone's eyes turned red, and spells flew around. Malfoy was made to laugh by Harry's squeaking spell, and Harry had to tap dance for Malfoy, who had never discovered that he had a talent for dancing. A puff of green smoke filled the venue, and the culprits, Neville and Justin, were both knocked to the ground. Seamus was lying on the ground, spitting out slugs one after another. It was all the fault of Ronald's broken wand, and Ronald himself had been blown 3 meters away. Hermione solved the problem neatly, and the big Millicent was wrapped tightly in her robe like a chrysalis and hung upside down from the ceiling. Zhangqiu wanted to show off her skills in front of Levin, but she was so excited that her opponent was bleeding profusely. At this time, she was kneeling on the ground begging him not to die. As for Siri, her opponent was Flint, Slytherin's Quidditch captain, but the opponent didn't even have a chance to pull out his wand before he was thrown to the ground. The female witcher seemed to treat this as an unruly fight. I said, just disarm. Everyone, stop it. Lockhart shouted in horror to the heads of the fighting crowd. He bounced around among the little wizards, but couldn't help anyone. It's Levin and Snape who are actually solving the problem. Euro, please give me flowers. Euro, stop curse. Snape flicked his wand, and Harry immediately ended his impromptu solo. Malfoy stopped laughing wildly, and the two of them were finally able to raise their heads. He walked around among the little wizards and solved the curse for every little wizard who was affected by the curse. Levin's method is more direct. As he waved his magic wand, an invisible realm instantly enveloped the surrounding young masters. Secondary spell, invalid barrier. In this enchantment, all spells below level 3 will stop and become invalid. Millicent immediately fell from the ceiling. Seamus also stopped spitting slugs, and he followed Levin's advice and tried to collect slugs, which can be sold for a lot of money in Diagon Alley. Marietta Acme's growing front teeth also receded. But there are also those that require manual help. Ronald was given a few drops of uplifting potion, and then he regained his composure. As for Zhangqiu's unlucky opponent, Levin also used the healing spell on him in time. After a lot of work, I finally finished cleaning up the mess made by the little wizards. Snape was very satisfied with Levin's performance, but Levin is not so satisfied with Hogwarts. The little wizards at Hogwarts are obviously not up to par in fighting. It is obvious that the Dark Lord has only disappeared for 10 years, and now he is making a comeback. Dumbledore himself is convinced of this. However, in schools, many young wizards are not performing satisfactorily in the magic spells they are supposed to master. Levin thought about the training of the future Dumbledore army in the original book. The junior Harry also taught many senior students the disarming curse. When he thought of this, he couldn't help but worry about the education policy of Hogwarts and the future of the wizarding world. In his eyes, a wizarding society where everyone can cast spells is basically equivalent to the United States where everyone can own a gun. In fact, the destructive power of the wand cannot be compared to that of firearms. The Ministry of Magic cannot prohibit wizards from using offensive spells. This is simply impossible. Even the most commonly used levitation curse can be easily used if used properly. In this case, the best thing to do is to popularize the most basic self-defense spells. After all, if everyone has a gun, he will not die randomly. Chapter 130. I think it's best for me to teach you how to stop unfriendly magic. Seeing everyone quiet down, Lockhart hurriedly returned to the center of the auditorium and said, please volunteer to come up as a couple to demonstrate. How about it? Longbottom and Finlalia Euro. Before he could finish his words, Snape interrupted him again. I think we still need to let students see a real duel, but in this matter, Professor Lockhart must be unwilling to take action. He looked at Lockhart threateningly, and the saucy professor hurriedly said, yes, my wand is a little too excited today. In that case, let our assistant coach take over, Mr. Green, if you don't mind. Sure enough, the old bat is waiting here. The so-called assistant coaching arrangement is probably for this. Levin, don't go, Snape is just looking for trouble with you. Zhangqiu hurriedly grabbed Levin's clothes. He's just jealous that Ravenclaw has been suppressing Slytherin in the Academy Cup. Steve also frowned, because Ravenclaw has you here. Many Ravenclaw eaglets stared at Snape angrily. Snape has always been very ambivalent about Levin's attitude. On the one hand, he was satisfied with his performance in potions class. It could even be said that Levin could be called Snape's favorite student in this class. On the other hand, he hated the other party's fame and glory among the young wizards, and was deeply wary of his powerful magical talent. In this 650 aspect, Dumbledore had already figured it out. Extreme, but he is much more extreme than Dumbledore. Levin didn't entirely know what Snape was thinking, but he didn't care. Today, he is a LV11 wizard/LV6 psion/LV7 druid. Taken together, the combat effectiveness is between LV16 LV19 wizards. But it's definitely not legendary. Compared to the past, now he thought he could compete with a master like Snape. In this case, why not give it a try? Just think of it as a test of your own results. It doesn't matter, Snape will show mercy. Zhang Qiu, he won't. As he said this, he separated from his classmates and came to the central venue. Are you right, Professor Snape? When he said this, his eyes were staring at Snape, and the excitement in his eyes seemed to overflow. Snape immediately realized that the other person was actually telling him in irony, I will show mercy to you. This made him even more angry, this time I will teach you a lesson. Snape thought this, and he and Levin faced each other and bowed to each other. Do you want to clear the place, Professor? Levin said meaningfully. No, I won't be harsh on a little wizard like you. Snape showed a good smile, as if he was fighting with Professor Lockhart. Well, since you said so. Levin said, casting his peripheral vision at the Slytherins around the stage, and smiled maliciously. It was you who said there was no need to clear the place, and if it brought disaster to the fish in the pond, it would naturally be your fault, Snape. According to the dueling ritual, both of them raised their wands to their chests at the same time, and then... Expelliarmus. Snape still started the same way, the red light flew towards Levin quickly, but Levin was like waving his sword to deflect an arrow, with a flick of the wand, the disarming spell flew away. The curse happened to fall on Crabbe next to Malfoy. The unlucky guy was immediately knocked out and his body hit the wall. Professor Snape was startled when he saw this, and just wanted the Slytherin wizards to disperse. Unfortunately, his second spell had already been used subconsciously. Like swinging a sword, Levin struck again, this time it was Goyle who was unlucky. Another of Malfoy's followers flew into the Slytherin crowd like a bowling ball and immediately hit them. In the blink of an eye, Malfoy's two followers were gone. Malfoy noticed that Levin glanced back at him casually, he completely believed that the other party did this on purpose. This made him tremble with fear, in fact, Malfoy has suffered a lot recently. Last time, I was hung up by Hermione on the court all afternoon. In the last competition, Harry knocked him off the broom. Halloween is transformed into a toad by Levin. And the most direct reason is because he cursed Moodblood. Now being blatantly threatened by Levin again, Malfoy almost collapsed. The other party really didn't care about his identity as school director and would seize every opportunity to bully him. I am apologizing. I shouldn't have discriminated against muggles. I shouldn't have said the word Moodblood. Please let me go. Everyone's eyes wandered between Levin and Malfoy, and those who were well informed looked at Hermione. The girl gave Levin a bright smile. Snape seemed to understand everything, he seemed to see himself in Malfoy, if only he had been so good at flirting with girls. At that time, he was still too naive, only caring about his own meager self-esteem, and failed to persist to the end. Still remember that night, he waited outside the Gryffindor lounge until the early morning and met Lily. The girl said she wanted to break up with him, but he left stupidly. As a result, that B.D. Potter found an opportunity and took advantage of it. If you just spend the night sleeping outside the lounge. Or, just give Lily a side-kissing Waldong. If he had Levin's ability at that time, he wouldn't be where he is today. Thinking of this, Snape glared at Harry hard again. Every time he saw Harry's similar appearance to James Potter, he felt like stabbing him in the heart. Harry felt confused. He just ate the melon quietly. Why did he provoke Snape again? Everyone, take 10 steps back and stay away from the stage. After clearing the area, Snape turned his grief and anger into murderous intent and fired spells at Levin. But Levin was like a master swordsman, easily deflecting all attacks with his wand. No, it should be said that after he learned longsword specialization from Cyrilla, he was already a sword master. Because of this, he is now able to skillfully use the iron armor curse and accurately shift gears for every tricky attack. In fact, if this technique is used with a real sword, the effect will be better. Levin is already studying how to add a permanent iron armor curse to the blade of Arcane Sword 2.0. This high intensity and rapid duel left the little wizards stunned. Have they ever seen such a thrilling and exciting duel? The two of them are currently using the most conventional magic, but they are all silent spell casting, and the casting speed is surprisingly fast, without any pause between spells. This kind of fighting method is comparable to concentration and basic skills. As long as someone can't hold on and makes a slight mistake, the battle will be over. However, faced with Snape's pressing steps, Levin did not hesitate at all. The more the fight continued, the more frightened Snape became. The last time he fought like this was during the time of Voldemort. At that time, there were only a few wizards who could fight him. Those people are all experienced masters. But the little wizard in front of me is only in the 2nd grade. Even though he is extremely talented, fighting always requires experience. Snape didn't know that there was a difference between talent and talent. The incredible understanding is not only reflected in magic learning, Snape tried to crush Levin through the pressure of high-intensity combat. Little did they know, Levin was already planning a counterattack. After once again provoking Snape's disarming spell, Levin saw the gap when the opponent was about to cast a powerful spell and took the initiative for the first time, counter spell. Snape, who was about to cast the split curse, suddenly felt that his magic power was disordered, and the spell he had prepared suddenly disappeared. He had never encountered such a situation before and suddenly became a little panicked. Levin seized on this gap, lightning beam. An arc of electricity burst out from the tip of the wand and hit Snape's chest directly, causing his whole body to twitch uncontrollably and he could hardly hold the wand. Fortunately, his endurance was amazing, so he endured it, dodged to the side, and avoided the continuous attack, and then waved his wand fiercely. Every curse ends. Only then did the surging magic power completely resist the lightning beam. But Levin's attack did not end. He waved his wand and pointed it above Snape. The little wizards around Snape suddenly felt a chill. I saw the sky above Snape suddenly condense into clouds, and then a large number of ice picks rained down from the sky and hit Snape head and face. Judging from the sharpness of the ice pick, it seemed that just one hit would cause a bloody head injury. It is the 4th level evocation spell Ice Storm. Snape responded calmly to this spell he had never seen before. At this time, he has completely regarded Levin as an opponent of the same level, and naturally he will not underestimate him. I saw him waving his wand towards the top of his head, and the tip of the wand spurted out blazing black flames. All the ice cones that were close to him quickly melted and vaporized. The high temperature withstood the severe cold, and even the ice cones that fell to the surrounding areas that were not affected by the flames melted into water. As Snape continued to output, even the ice clouds that maintained the ice storm overhead dissipated. All the little wizards could see that Guoai was at a disadvantage in this wave of magical confrontation. After dealing with Ice Storm, Snape turned his wand to Levin, as if he wanted to give him some color. Unexpectedly, Levin across from him had a successful smile on his face. The next moment, he felt something binding his feet. Snape looked down and saw that clumps of vines had suddenly sprouted out of the water where the ice cone had melted. They grew at a speed that was far beyond supernatural, and swept towards him. Damn, there's something wrong with those ice picks. Snape already understood that 0.9 came over. Although he had taken advantage on the surface, he was actually tricked by the other party. Although I don't know how the other party made the vines grow wildly, the vines will not appear out of thin air, and the transformation spell has no such effect. There must be something like vine seeds wrapped in those ice cones. He still underestimated the other party. In fact, he had already used his own black magic during the fight against Ice Storm. Although that kind of magical flame is not a powerful fire, it is beyond the scope of conventional magic spells. But how did the other party learn these powerful sets of magic? Snape was puzzled. A person's growth is traceable and requires time to accumulate. Levin Green is only in 2nd grade now, but it seems that he does not need time. He has transformed from a learner of magic to a creator in just 2 years. This is too outrageous. The battle will continue. He once again summoned the magic flame, trying to burn off these crazy vines and make a final struggle. Suddenly, silver mist flickered around Snape. It is the light of Mizongbu. Then Snape stopped moving. It felt like there was a hard stick pressing against his back. Taking a closer look, Levin, who was supposed to be standing opposite him, appeared beside him somehow, holding a wand pointing at his waist. The outcome has been decided. Chapter 131. Seeing Levin's wand pointed at him at such a close distance, Snape realized that he had no room to fight back, so he stopped casting spells. Upon seeing this, Levin waved his magic wand, and the vines that had been growing crazily stopped moving and quickly withered. Seeing the dead vines falling at his feet, Snape's eyes were complicated. You just hid the seeds in those hailstones, right? He asked. What do you think? Levin smiled. Snape snorted and asked again, what's the name of the magic you just used to make the vines grow? You want to learn? I'll teach you. You can't learn druid spells even if you tell me. After all, Snape was not the fire cloud evil god, so he was unwilling to kowtow to learn this trick and walked away angrily. In fact, it was natural that Professor Snape would lose in this duel. On the one hand, Levin's strength is indeed sufficient, and he has many part-time jobs and various tricks. For example, in the vine sneak attack just now, Levin used Ice Storm to cover up the vine seeds and sent them to Snape's feet and Psychic Suggestion to make Snape ignore the tiny abnormalities on the ground and Druid spells Plant Growth and Command Plants. The combined attack of the 3 professions naturally caused Snape to suffer a big loss. As for Professor Snape, not being able to use black magic limits part of his combat power. If the two sides really didn't hold back 23 at all, Levin estimated that it would be a draw. Witness Levin defeating their dean. Slytherin students were all eclipsed. Students from other colleges looked at Levin in awe. Previously, the single kill of the Chimera was only reported after the fact, and no one could understand it personally. But this time, he took action in public, showing strength that far exceeded that of an adult wizard. Levin is only in 2nd grade now. If nothing else, he will definitely become a great wizard like Dumbledore. Oh, Mr. Green, congratulations on winning this duel. Well done. When the duel ended, Lockhart came over enthusiastically and put his arm around Levin's shoulders affectionately, giving everyone the illusion that they had a good relationship. For those who don't know, they might think Levin is his disciple of Lockhart. Why can't it be? Lockhart decided to add this paragraph to his new book after he returned, and he himself appears as Levin's favorite teacher. The book also says this, Gilderoy Lockhart had to coach Levin alone for 2 hours every night. In this way, when Levin became famous, Lockhart's reputation also increased. Just perfect. During the Lockhart duel, his methods of gaining popularity became more and more sophisticated. Next, let's have another showdown between students. Before Levin could get angry, Lockhart let him go and began arranging a new duel. This time the chosen ones were Harry and Malfoy. Snape approached Malfoy gloomily, lowered his head and whispered a few words to him, as if he wanted to vent his anger on failure through this method. Malfoy changed his fear and smiled proudly again. Lockhart also tried to teach Harry, but his gorgeous wand and dance technique was something Harry never wanted to use. After all, it was a duel between students. The young wizards did not expect their performance to be more exciting than Levin and Snape. But who would have thought that the duel between this pair would also be exciting? I saw Malfoy using a spell he had never seen before, oolong out of the hole. The head of his wand exploded, and a long black snake suddenly jumped out of it, landed heavily on the floor between the two of them, then raised its head, ready to attack. The crowd screamed and quickly backed away to make way for the open space. This summoning spell obviously had the nature of black magic at first glance. It was a small stove opened by Snape. "Don't move, Potter," Professor Snape said lazily and showily, "I'll get him away." But he didn't make any move for a long time. It was obvious that he wanted to make Harry look embarrassed. "Let me do it. I know a charm," Lockhart shouted. He raised his wand and waved it threateningly at the snake. Suddenly, there was a loud bang, and the snake not only did not disappear, but jumped up more than 10 feet high. By the time it fell down, it had expanded several sizes, and now it can be called a black python. It was furious after being thrown, and slurped out a message and swam straight towards the nearest target Justin Finch-Fletchley. Then, it raised its head, exposed its fangs, and assumed an offensive posture. Harry subconsciously stepped forward and hissed at the snake. Then, the snake lost its aggressiveness and collapsed on the floor, as supple as a pile of thick, black watering hoses, staring at Harry. Harry knew that he would never attack anyone again. But when he looked up at Justin, he found that the other person's expression was full of anger and horror. He thought he would be grateful. "What do you think you're playing?" Justin yelled. Without waiting for Harry to explain, Justin turned around and rushed out of the auditorium, as if jumping for his life. Professor Snape stepped forward, waved his wand, and the snake turned into a plume of black smoke and disappeared. Then, he also looked at Harry with an unexpected look. It was a cunning and calculating look. The other little wizards around him also became wary when looking at him. Only Levin in the audience understood what Harry said. Through animal talk, he can understand that sentence. What Harry said was, "Let him go." But how was he going to explain it to Harry? He was also considered a Parseltongue? Only Ronald stepped forward first and pulled Harry away. When they went out, people stepped aside one after another, as if they were afraid of getting into trouble. The Duel Club's first event ended hastily. Only Draco Malfoy followed him and shouted angrily, "Don't think you are a Parseltongue, you are the heir of Slytherin. Our heir of Slytherin may definitely be a crude and reckless Gryffindor." His anger was mixed with jealousy, his jealousy was mixed with pleasure. It seems that he wants to vent all the grievances he has suffered recently. "I would rather be a squib than a Slytherin heir." After Harry retorted, he said confused, "What do you think I am? Stop pretending in front of me." After hearing Harry's rhetorical question, Malfoy became even more angry. He felt that the other party must be showing off. He wanted to say something else, but when he saw Levin walking with Hermione, he immediately turned around and left. "He said you were a Parseltongue, Harry. You could talk to snakes," Ronald explained thoughtfully. "Harry, being able to talk to snakes is Salazar Slytherin's famous ability. Therefore, the symbol of the Slytherin school is a snake," Hermione said at the side, lowering her voice. "But I'm really not the descendant of Slytherin." Harry panicked. "I'm not, I didn't, don't talk nonsense." He was terrified now. He couldn't explain why he had the ability to speak Parseltongue, nor could he accept the fact that he might be the heir to Slytherin. Out of love for his old classmates, Levin comforted him, "Don't worry, Harry, not all Parseltongues are the heirs of Slytherin. In fact, Parseltongues appeared as early as the ancient Greek period, such as the despicable Herbo. A Parselmouth." Unexpectedly, his words seemed to add fuel to the fire. When Harry heard this, he became even more anxious. "So, Parseltongue is a language that only dark wizards can speak. But I'm not a dark wizard either." Now Levin didn't know what to say, so he could only advise dryly, "But it's nice to learn a new skill, isn't it? Maybe you can treat it as a foreign language. Dumbledore can also speak the language of merfolk." That's all he could say, but looking at the other party's expression, this reason is obviously unacceptable. Levin feels that he is still not suitable for persuading people. If he just tried to persuade him like this, Harry would have to climb up to the astronomy tower and jump off the building. In this case, he can only let himself emo for a few more days. Fortunately, there is no NetEase cloud in this era. Update 5/4. Additional update 26/51. It's not easy to get a new book on the shelves. I'd like to ask for a wave of custom orders, a wave of flowers, monthly votes, reviews, and rewards. If you have votes, please give them to me, the author. This is really important to me. Chapter 132. The next morning, I don't know since when, pieces of snowflakes drifted past the windows of the castle, flying in the air. Therefore, the last herbal medicine class of the semester was cancelled. Professor Sprout has to take care of the mandrake, and she doesn't trust others to do it. Now, it is crucial to let the mandrake grow up quickly and save the lives of Mrs. Norris and Colin Creevey. The next day, the students all knew that Harry was a Parseltongue. During the morning meal, Harry and Ronald almost occupied the entire long table. Only Hermione and the Weasley twins dared to get close to them. Levin recalled that he still remembered the scene when the Gryffindor lions cheered "We have Potter" when they were sorted. Similar scene between Harry and Ronald after Gryffindor was deducted big points for traveling at night, and the cheers at the end of the term when Harry got extra points for saving the Sorcerer's Stone. Arrogant at the front and respectful at the back, such an ugly attitude makes people sigh. However, for Harry, Levin's closeness to Hermione and others can comfort his heart. But the comfort from the twins was still too early. The two men cleared the way for Harry and the others in the corridor, shouting, "Make way for the heir of Slytherin, who wants to have afternoon tea with his evil servant in his secret chamber. Ugly things don't just happen to Gryffindors, Ravenclaws are no exception. After returning to the Ravenclaw lounge, Levin saw a long list of missing items posted on the bulletin board in the lounge. The owner of the list is Luna Lovegood. Levin was deeply impressed by this girl whose appearance was hampered by her weird outfit. It happened that the other party was still in the lounge, so Levin stepped forward curiously and asked, "Why did you lose so many things?" Luna blinked and said softly, "Everyone always likes to make fun of me and hide all my things. It's holiday now and I have to ask them to return their things to me before they go home." Luna's expression was calm when she said this, but Levin's expression was not so good. What does hide come mean? This is naked bullying. He just criticized Gryffindor, wasn't this a slap in the face? Moreover, they are still neighbors, and Levin happens to be going home tomorrow. How should he answer when Mr. Lovegood asks? No, it must be managed. Don't worry Luna, I will let them return the things to you. Levin took care of everything and turned around to find Siri. She is not only the idol among Ravenclaw girls, but also the best friend of Prefect Pinello, so she will know this kind of thing better. After asking around, Shirley realized that Luna had become the target of jokes among her classmates because of her weird behavior. Everyone called her crazy girl behind her back. And she doesn't care about anything, this submissive attitude made her the target of everyone's teasing and ridicule. This directly leads to the fact that she is a Ravenclaw, but her best friend is Gryffindor Ginny. After hearing this, Levin characterized the matter, this is a serious violation of school rules and must be dealt with severely. Soon, all the girls in the first and second years were gathered together in the common room, sitting in groups on the sofa. Levin stood in front of them, looking serious. I always thought that only Slytherins would engage in this kind of discrimination, but I never thought that school bullying would actually happen in Ravenclaw. We always think that Gryffindor is reckless, Slytherin is paranoid, and Hufflepuff is too mediocre, but you are even worse than them. At least this kind of thing will not happen to Hufflepuff. The Sorting Hat said that Ravenclaw pursues wisdom and advocates knowledge, but I feel that if you can't accept and tolerate the classmates you live with day and night, then no matter how smart you are, it will be just a little cleverness. Only a truly wise man will understand that the skills of one person short, two people have different skills. No one can solve all problems alone. Everyone needs the strength of others. At this moment, Levin gave full play to the majesty he had accumulated over the past 2 years and gave these little witches a solid ideological and political lesson. Although he didn't mention anyone by name, everyone understood what Levin wanted to express. Several first-year girls were said to cry. After they left, Levin comforted Luna, even the little wizard of Ravenclaw, not everyone can understand true wisdom. For example, Professor Quirrell, such as Lockhart, how come the sacrifices came from Ravenclaw for 2 consecutive terms? Couldn't Dumbledore use another sheep? So, don't care too much about these, and don't deliberately pursue being gregarious for this. You are you, the special you, isn't it? Luna nodded in understanding and returned to the Chinese language to say thank you. Most of the things she lost have been returned by her naughty classmates, and some even apologized to her. Even though she might not be able to make friends in Ravenclaw, at least her situation would be much better. After dealing with this pile of things, Ai finally had time to do his own work. He was sitting by the fire in the common room, and was excitedly designing a new alchemy plan for Arcane Sword 2.0. He wanted to recreate the inspiration from the Gladiator Club, and then he could use the sword to cut magic. What a shameful operation. Cyrilla sat next to him, trying to complete her heavy homework. She didn't want homework to disturb their lives during the winter vacation. Recently, she likes to take Levin back to the lounge to study instead of staying in the library. Since Hermione couldn't come in here, she could fully enjoy her time alone. But there are other problems with staying in the lounge to study, other than. In vain, the disciples in Ravenclaw's lounge suddenly opened, and Zhongqiu and Marietta walked in hurriedly, with a look of deep fear on their faces. When he saw Levin, Zhongqiu immediately stepped forward and wanted to share his gossip with him. When Cyrilla saw this, she almost broke the pen in her hand, thinking that trouble was coming. Something big happened, Levin, someone was attacked again, and this time there were 2 unlucky guys. Zhongqiu chirped to him, the victims are Justin and almost no one. Nick, they were all petrified, your friend Harry Potter was the murderer, and Peeves caught him red-handed. Oh, poor Potter, how sad it would be if he knew that he was just a Levin's friend in the mouth of his goddess. Levin thought secretly, on the surface, he naturally wants to speak for his friends, the murderer is probably not Harry Potter. His cat kicks can't turn ghosts into stone. But he still put away the banknotes and stood up, however, I have never seen a ghost petrified. This is really novel. Let's go over and see what's going on. Where is Nick now? Near the corridor on the 3rd floor. Zhongqiu took the initiative to lead the way. Although she was also afraid of being attacked, she seemed much safer with Ye Wen by her side. Chapter 133. When Levin saw Nick with his own eyes, he was a little frightened. This ghost is no longer milky white and transparent, it became black and filled with smoke, and lay motionless, but did not fall to the ground. It was still suspended 6 inches above the ground. Half of his head was missing, and he had a frightened expression on his face. It's a wonder that someone who has been petrified can still float. Levin couldn't help but step forward and take a closer look. However, he did not see anything strange. The ingredients that made up the ghost did not change at all, but were mixed with a strong curse. This is no different from a petrified person. After that, they went to visit Justin again. The boy looked ferocious and had a horrified expression on his face, obviously seeing the appearance of the murderer. With Harry's appearance, he would never be allowed to show such an expression. But the young wizards obviously wouldn't understand this, and it was estimated that Harry would have a difficult time in the next period of time. It is worth mentioning that even though he was petrified, Justin still held the amulet tightly in his hand. So the Weasley brothers claimed that Justin had sensed something through the amulet before being attacked, and that was why he made such an action. Being petrified was just a moment of bad luck. So before Christmas, Levin's amulets sold out again. The Christmas holiday came soon, and Levin and others boarded the Hogwarts Express and embarked on the road home. This holiday, because of the monster in the secret room, many more students went home than usual. Unlike them, Levin's train ride is actually just a cover. After arriving at King's Cross Station, Levin directly used teleportation to take Siri back to the village of Otter St. Catchpole, and reopened the demi-plane. As a result, the neighbors discovered that the woods and tower that had been absent for several months had reappeared. On Christmas Day, there was a heavy snowfall in the village of St. Catchpole. Cyrilla, who gets up early all the year round, rarely sleeps through Chinese medicine. He opened the door and saw that the yard was covered in silver. Only the greenhouse where magic plants were cultivated felt like spring all year round. Before the demi-plane opened, Levin urgently used the sand to glass spell to turn a pile of sand into glass and built a greenhouse. Then he worked tirelessly to enchant the greenhouse with daylight technique, water making technique, drying technique, and control temperature. Through these arcane magics and druid spells, even a muggle can control the sunlight, rain, temperature, and humidity in the greenhouse just like using a remote control to control the air conditioner, ensuring that, the conditions in the greenhouse are maintained under any circumstances. Magic plants can get the best growing conditions. The contrast between silvery white and green makes people feel relaxed and happy. Cyrilla opened her arms, stretched her body at the door, and then performed a set of sword skills. This was considered to have completed her morning exercises. The owl Hema, who had been tired all night, was enduring the pursuit of the evil bird Circe, and flew around patiently with it. During Levin's absence, they were assigned to do pest control work in the greenhouse. On a whim, Zilly reached out from the ground, grabbed a snowball, and threw it at Mo's head. After getting snow thrown on his face for no reason, Hema flapped his wings and chirped and flew to the kitchen to complain to Levin. Levin, like Cyrilla, had just woken up. The two were watching the videotape of Home Alone 2 in the living room last night. The amused Siri was not satisfied yet and asked Levin to dig out the first film and watch it again, so he stayed up very late. Their messy schedule has been going on for some time. After the holiday, the two began to let themselves go. In addition to watching movies, they also play game consoles, watch TV, study magic, and occasionally have hearty sword duels. Anyway, you can do whatever makes you happy. Hermione is not here either, so the two of them can relax more. Levin has gradually understood the true meaning of getting along with the opposite S***X. While it's nice to force multilateral relationships through charm, but when there are competitors, girls will be reserved. Only by spending time alone can you truly unlock progress. While Helmer was complaining to Levin about being bullied by Cyrilla, Cohen was concentrating on the stove in front of him. Humor's intelligence does not allow it to speak complete sentences. But Levin can still hear keywords such as snow, smash me, and woman. Levin waved his wand while listening to the eagle owl's complaints. Pots and pans, surrender to me. He shouted like a second grader, so the kitchen knife quickly chopped the vegetable leaves, mushrooms, onions, ginger and garlic into puree, while the other kitchen knife focused on the pork. The flour and water on the chopping board have been fully mixed. Levin gently injects a small amount of acceleration technique into it with a finger. After a while, the dough will expand visibly. At this time, the meat and vegetables here have been processed. Levin lifted the wand upwards and waved it clockwise. So vegetable leaves, mushrooms, onions, ginger, garlic, pork, salt, soy sauce, sugar. A series of ingredients float in the air, forming a large whirlpool, and then naturally stir together. The filling is now complete. Levin adds a little bit of filling and dough respectively, split into pieces. Although the splitting spell can be cast silently, Levin specifically recited the spell in order to fully exert the effect of the spell. It was as if the fillings and dough were divided by invisible nets, automatically divided into dozens of even pieces. The dough fell on the table one by one and was spread into individual pancakes. The filling just falls in the center of each dough pancake. Then, Levin pointed his wand at the dough one by one. The ordered dough automatically wrapped the fillings and turned into steamed buns. All the shaped buns have legs and eyes lying on the plate. And the last dozen jumped into the long-awaited steamer. Levin closed the pot lid, and a blue flame came out automatically. Perfect. All that's left is to wait. The process of cooking with magic was so smooth that Levin felt like he was filming a Chinese drama. It's a pity that objects cannot shine. At this time, Cyrilla quietly came over and made a hissing gesture to Helmer on the windowsill. She used the standard sneaking steps of a witcher, just like a civet cat, and quietly came behind Levin. Then he stretched out his hand, opened Levin's collar, and stuffed a snowball inside. Levin's psychic ability had already sensed the arrival of the female assassin. But I didn't care at first. Now that he was suddenly attacked, he immediately took out the snowball from the back of his neck with a grin on his face, and then retaliated with tooth. Hug, sorry. After doing this, Levin immediately realized the problem and apologized. Did you do it on purpose or accidentally? Cyrilla let out a cry, clutched her chest and retreated in defeat. I asked why it was so easy to plug it in. Levin looked at his right hand. Well, it feels good and has great potential. Chapter 134. After that, Levin continued to focus on the stove. Under the influence of acceleration spell, the buns were steamed quickly. They waited for Levin to open the lid of the pot and jumped into the plates one by one, happily waiting to be eaten. During breakfast, Cyrilla sat down at the dining table quite naturally, as if nothing happened just now. She ate 4 big steamed buns with soy milk and praised the delicacy of Levin's hometown. After eating, she happily opened Christmas gifts with Levin. As Ravenclaw's Quidditch savior for 3 consecutive years before Levin, Cyrilla had quite a few friends in Ravenclaw. Everyone on the team sent gifts to the two of them, most of which were Quidditch magazines and posters about broom maintenance props. Her best friend, Prefect Peen Locravat, gave her a pair of practical sports gloves. But the most valuable thing was the gift Levin received. As the uncrowned king of Ravenclaw, Levin naturally has many admirers and fans. Therefore, the gifts he received this year were far beyond what a normal person would receive, and the packaging alone filled up half of the porch. All the chocolates were ignored. No one dared to eat them anyway. Levin didn't like it, but he was worried that there would be love potions in them. The little witch liked this the most. What Harry and Ronald gave were the same old snacks, and with their abilities they could only give this. The Weasley twins' gifts were quite thoughtful. They were a copy of the Wizarding Fairy Tale Toadstool Tales and their recent income and expenditure statements. The gifts from the Tonks were men's cologne and hair conditioner. They didn't know that Levin, a native of Dragon Country, had no need for the former. Tonks herself gave Levin a looking glass. If there is a suspicious person around, this magical prop will light up and rotate. Gianna also sent a gift, a box of handmade gingerbread cookies and a sweater that can automatically sing Tinker Bell when worn. After reading it, Levin realized that this was the special gift for the Winter Veil Festival in World of Warcraft. It seems that the other party is homesick. What Hermione sent was a greeting card, which mentioned that the real gift would be given after the meeting. Levin felt that Cyrilla's eyes were much sharper. As for Zhongchu's next gift, she also sent a greeting card, saying that she would bring the gift with her when she visited. Cyrilla's expression has darkened. Fortunately, there is no third greeting card like this, otherwise today will definitely not be easy. Unlike last year, professors also gave gifts this year, but most of them were extension books on corresponding subjects. The most special thing about Snape was that he actually gave Levin a bezoar. Bezoars are essentially clumps of undigested material that accumulate inside a goat's digestive system. Although this stuff has detoxifying properties, Levin still felt unlucky after receiving it. As for Levin's gift, it was actually given last night, which made Helmer very tired. His gifts this year are all handmade wallets with space expansion spells inside. Due to the difficulty of the space expansion spell, this thing is a very precious gift for most wizards. Depending on the closeness of the gift recipient, the space in the wallet will vary. The biggest one is naturally Hermione's, with a full cubic meter of space. As for the one given to Gianna, Levin also included a greeting card with Happy Wintervale written on it, which must have been a comfort to her. Cyrilla's gift is another silver sword. This is Arcane Sword 2.0, Levin proudly introduced. The work of attaching the iron armor curse to the blade has been completed. Now you can try to use the sword to cut spells. After Levin finished sending it, he looked at Cyrilla expectantly. So, what is my gift? Your gift. The girl stood in front of Levin with a pretty face, her hands behind her back, as if she was hiding something behind her back. Just when Levin was looking forward to it, the girl suddenly stepped forward, the slightly cold lips touched her directly. Levin was surprised at first, and then enjoyed it submissively. After 3 full minutes, the two separated. So, this is your Christmas gift? After a while, Zywin said slowly. How's it going? Are you dissatisfied? Zilly shrugged and said coolly. Of course I'm not satisfied. Levin was furious. I'm only 12 years old, this should be considered a gift from me, right? So. Zilly raised her eyebrows provocatively. I only have this gift, do you want it? Of course I want it, Levin licked his lips, but one is not enough, I have to collect a few more. Just as Levin was repeatedly accepting gifts, there was a knock on the door. Tuck tuck tuck. Opening the door, Levin realized it was Luna. The girl wrapped herself in a thick coat and walked through the snow gate. Asking for flowers, Cyril Levin could feel that behind him, Siri once again entered the gloomy state of opening gifts. Although he didn't receive the third greeting card from a girl asking for a personal visit just now, there was one in front of him who came to visit without a greeting card. Humph, you were busy for so long before, but now you must feel that everything is worth it. Cyrilla said angrily before letting Luna in. She is always straightforward and rarely says weird things. What else can Levin do? After entering the house, Luna directly handed over a large package. This is a Christmas gift for you, a cake I made. When the female witcher discovered that she also had a share of this gift, she suddenly felt embarrassed. Levin took the opportunity to poke her. I just came here to say thank you. Didn't you also work hard to stand up for her at that time? Why are you thinking so wildly now? Zero, because I have seen through your true nature. Shirai glanced at Levin, but she treated the junior student honestly and warmly. It is worth mentioning that Luna's cooking skills are indeed excellent. The cakes are not only delicious, but also look good. Perhaps because she was raised by her father alone, she seems to be good at any skill that allows her to entertain herself and take care of herself. For example, she plays well with Cersei, the evil witchbird of the Levin family. However, she didn't stay at Levin's house for long, and soon left singing songs. She also had to give out Christmas gifts to several other neighbors. If Luna's arrival was just a false alarm for Cyrilla, then the guests arriving in the next few days are the real threat. On the second day of Christmas, Zhangqiu came to visit and brought a lot of Dragon Kingdom specialties that ordinary people couldn't get. The two even organized a pure Dragon Kingdom-style dinner together. It must be said that her presence greatly eased Levin's nostalgia for his hometown. But what gave Siri the most headache was the last visitor, Hermione Granger. The arrival of Miss Granger means that the unscrupulous world of 2 people is completely over, and she has to live a life of 3 people again. However, even the life of 3 people is still very warm compared to being alone in the past few years and the wandering before time travel. Cyrilla felt that she was already a little addicted to it. If she hadn't still been thinking about the fate of her adoptive father and mother, she would probably have said, I am happy here and don't miss Shu. The picture shows Ilyushina. Chapter 135. Time flies, the 3 of them returned to school the day before school started. The shadow of the secret room and the attacker was completely diluted as the entire holiday passed. During the holidays, nothing happened at Hogwarts. Many people felt that everything was going to be over. After waiting for a few months, after the mandrakes are harvested, the unlucky ones who were attacked will return to normal, and the identity of the attacker will most likely be revealed. Even Levin is a little relaxed. Who would have thought that I would have another baby just a week after returning to school? On Saturday afternoon, Levin was reading in the corner of the library as usual. In most cases, Miss Granger would be by his side so she could ask him questions at any time. But today the other party unexpectedly did not appear in the library. Maybe she has something else going on today? At this time, Levin was reading a book, The Hybridization and Breeding of Magical Creatures, when he suddenly heard Mrs. Pants yelling and scolding. The sound of footsteps getting closer and closer. It sounds like the opponent's tonnage is not low. Levin raised his head and saw a short and fat 647 running in his direction, like a running wild boar. It was Malfoy's follower, Vincent Crabbe. Malfoy is so promising that he actually dares to send his followers to attack him? Levin was confused, and just as he was thinking about how to give him a good look, Crabbe stopped in front of him and said calmly, Levin, get to the bathroom on the 3rd floor, something happened to Hermione. 3rd floor? Bathroom? Hermione. 3 words in a row made Levin confused. Also, why is it you, Crabbe, who came to tell me this news? Levin almost imagined a bloody drama in which Malfoy secretly took revenge for being crushed by Hermione, and Crabbe came to report because of his conscience. Of course, neither Malfoy's strength nor Crabbe's conscience is enough to complete the drama. Wait, you're not Crabbe, you're Harry. Levin immediately thought of the plot in the original work. Crabbe? No, it was Harry, who was shocked when he heard this. You, how did you recognize me? There is something wrong with the effect of Xiaofang decoction. Sure enough, it was Harry, so it was obvious what happened to Hermione. But Levin is still a little puzzled. Obviously Hermione didn't brew the polyjuice potion like in the original novel, so how did their transformation come about? You know, polyjuice potion is not an easy potion to make. Regardless of the complicated manufacturing process, the cooking time alone is as long as a month. But now was obviously not the time to discuss this matter. Levin immediately stood up and followed Harry's Crabbe out of the library before Mrs. Pants discovered Harry. As he walked, he comforted, Don't worry, Harry, I'm just familiar with your tone and way of speaking, so I recognized you. Most people can't see your problem at all. Outside the library door, they saw Goyle, who was probably Ronald's transformation. The time for the polyjuice potion is limited, so we went to find Malfoy. Harry said goodbye to Levin and hurried away with Ronald. Levin also rushed to the abandoned bathroom on the 3rd floor. Far away, he heard Myrtle singing happily. I heard her knock on the compartment door and shout inside, Granger, come out quickly. I don't. Hermione refused. If you don't come out, I'll call someone and let everyone come and see you. Myrtle threatened. I have been here for 50 years, and finally I have seen someone uglier than me. No, don't. Hermione's voice became increasingly panicked. Just then, Levin stepped into the bathroom. Seeing someone coming, Myrtle immediately shouted excitedly, Come on, come here and have a look. It's so scary. There is a cat man here. I have never seen such an ugly guy. She wished everyone could see how ugly Hermione looked now, combined with her own face full of acne, its purpose can be imagined. Shut up, Myrtle. Go away. As soon as the 2-level necromancy spell, Command the Necromancer was activated, the ghost Myrtle obediently shut her mouth and left Levin's sight. In the bathroom, Levin immediately saw the compartment where Hermione was hiding, only this compartment was closed. Levin walked over and pushed the door, but did not open it. Hermione, open the door, I'm hungry. But only her quiet sobs came from inside. Open the door, don't worry, I can save you. Hermione finally spoke and said intermittently, No. No need, polyjuice potion only lasts for an hour. After a while, it will change back. Do you think this is possible? Levin couldn't help but throw cold water. Polyjuice potion is not designed to transform animals, so you won't change back after an hour. As a result, the sobbing in the toilet became louder, but Hermione was stubborn and refused to open the door. There was no other way, so Shanwen had no choice but to take coercive measures. Myrtle has gone to call someone else. There is no use hiding. Miss Granger, you don't want your appearance to be seen by others, do you? This statement had an immediate impact. Click. The door lock opened in response. Levin pushed open the cubicle door. Hermione was seen huddled in the corner, covering her head with her robe, trying her best to hide herself. Levin wanted to lift the robe, but the girl held it tightly and refused to let him take it away. In this state, the last person she wanted to see was Levin. Don't, Levin. Hermione cried with trembling lips. Be good, be obedient. Keep me healthy. After all, Hermione's strength was no better than Levin's. She only had to let go after holding on for a while. Then Levin saw her true appearance. At this time, Hermione had completely changed. Her face and hands were covered with orange hair, her eyes had turned yellow, and two pointed triangular ears on her head came out of her hair, and they were still sticking out from under her robe. A slender cat tail. To be honest, this is the first time Levin has seen this appearance. Although she has the characteristics of a cat all over her body, Hermione does not have a cat head like a real orc, but has the outline of a human skull and the shape of a cat. A combination of facial features. This looks like a real Yuri. Oops, it's the feeling of heartbeat. It took him a long time to resist the urge to step forward and give him a hand. Hermione was still crying and complaining, Millicent must have a cat. What I took was not her hair, it was cat hair. But when she turned to look at Levin, she saw the boy's somewhat obsessed expression. This. Hermione couldn't describe the complicated emotions she felt at that moment. What she was most worried about was that Levin would hate her after seeing her like this. But when she discovered that Levin didn't dislike her, but was actually very moved by her, Hermione found it hard to understand. Why is this person's XP so weird? You, I hate you, don't look at me like that. Hermione grabbed the robe and threw it hard in Levin's face. But she raised her hand and lost it for a long time but still couldn't bear to do it. So, she pointed and turned her head away from looking at the boy's expression. Levin thought she was still sad, so he hugged her gently and comforted her boldly. Don't worry, Hermione, even if you become like this, I will still like you. When hearing such words under such circumstances, most girls will be very moved. Even though she was like this, the other party never left her. Hermione felt very relieved to hear such a confession. But while being moved, she felt very strange. Thank you, Levin. Her sadness eased slightly, and she twisted her body uneasily, but, can you let me go a little bit, you pervert? This. Levin was stunned. How did you find out? No, it should be, why am I abnormal? The kitten girl turned her head, looked at the boy who was trying to comfort her, and complained softly, really, why didn't I realize before that you actually like such weird things? Levin reached out to wipe away the tears on the girl's cheek. It's strange, it's strange. One of us is a cat girl, and the other is a pervert who likes cat girls. Doesn't this mean that we are a good match? Nonsense. Hermione chuckled at these words, and the sadness of becoming a cat lady was swept away. Levin also laughed. He stood up and picked Hermione up as if he were a real cat. Hermione twitched her cat ears and put her head on William's chest. Her slender tail gently hooked the boy's arm, and the soft cat hair tickled him. Levin finally couldn't help it and took a deep breath in Hermione's cat hair. She almost scratched her face with her cat claws. Chapter 136. So, how do we get to the school doctor's office? In the bathroom, Hermione asked while enduring Levin's harassment of the cat's paw pads. School doctor's office? Why do you want to go to the school doctor's office? Levin said strangely. Go to the school doctor's office and change back to how you were before. I can't always stay like this. Well, what's wrong with maintaining this appearance? After hearing Levin's words, Hermione was shocked. Pervert here, you don't really think so, do you? She secretly glanced at the boy, who was poking the elastic pads of her palms again and again, having a great time. But I have to meet other people. Hermione said angrily, I don't want to keep looking like this. Okay. Levin sounded a little disappointed, but he then said, but even so, you don't need to go to the campus hospital. Why? Because I can change you into the same person. Levin said confidently. You. Hermione thought for a while and nodded, I even forgot that you created an unprecedented magical animagus, and you are also very good at transformation. If you are performing human body transformation. Strictly speaking, there are many branches of transfiguration, animagus, cross-species transfiguration, human transfiguration, and all things transfiguration. 23. Among them, human body transformation is the transformation of human body changes, specifically the manual transmission disguise magus. I think back then, the first-generation Dark Lord Grindelwald became the head of magical security and the director of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement in the United States, Percival Graves, and infiltrated into the United States. Grindelwald was not a disguise magus, nor did he use polyjuice potion. Instead, he directly used the human transfiguration technique to continuously partially deform his face and body, and then turned into another person. Of course, this kind of transformation requires a powerful level of transformation. But Levin, who is proficient in the School of Transfiguration, also has alternatives in this regard. In arcane magic, Level 2 transformation can temporarily complete the human body transformation effect. Level 4 transformation can transform the character into another species in a short time. The 5-level malicious transformation can even force an enemy to permanently turn into a small animal. The 8-ring transform all things can deform things at will. The duration is determined by the similarity before and after the deformation. If the similarity is high, such as turning a sheep into a wolf, it can be permanently deformed. The 9-ring full transformation can be permanently transformed at will. Compared with Harry Potter's transfiguration, transfiguration magic is relatively more certain and more controllable. In Hermione's current state, wanting to change back to her original state would be equivalent to turning a cat person into a human. Although Levin cannot master the 8-ring transformation of all things, the difference between humans and cat people is far lower than the difference between wolves and sheep. So Levin endured the reluctance and pointed at Hermione with his wand. 6th ring. Transformation. The transformation technique that has been upgraded to level 6 is the strongest transformation technique that Levin can master now. I saw that the hair all over Hermione's body began to fall away, the cat's claws turned into 5 fingers, and her nose and mouth returned to their human appearance. Great, you did it. Looking at her bare hands and touching her smooth face again, Hermione cheered and her tail involuntarily rested on Levin's arm. Etka euro tail. Hermione turned around and discovered to her surprise that her tail had not changed back. Suddenly, she felt something was wrong and hurriedly took out the mirror. Sure enough, he still had those fluffy ears on his head. Levin, do it again, your spell has barely changed yet. The girl grabbed the boy's arm and said coquettishly. But Levin shook his head. No, my transformation spell has been used. After hearing this, Hermione panicked. But I still have my ears and tail. I know, I did this on purpose. Levin said, puffing up his chest proudly, and explained, although I have removed most of the cat girl elements from you, I still retain some of the cat characteristics. Only in this way can you remember, you did something wrong. Anyway, this state will last for at least a month before I change you back. You're not here to teach me a lesson, you're just here to appreciate yourself, pervert Levin. Hermione complained softly, but looking at Levin's righteous expression, the girl still gave in. Okay, I know I was wrong, I shouldn't have hesitated to drink the potion I didn't understand. But, this is all to solve the problem of the Chamber of Secrets. I also want to sneak into Slytherin and trick Malfoy. As she said that, the girl shyly stuck out her tongue, her cute look exactly like a real cat girl. Seeing Hermione acting coquettishly, Levin sighed, next time, at least tell me in advance. Then he asked casually, speaking of which, you didn't brew the polyjuice potion, so where did you get the polyjuice potion? Ronald provided it. Hermione said a name Levin had never thought of. Ronald? Him. The boy was stunned, that stupid Weasley can actually brew polyjuice potion? Of course I helped, at least the last part of the work was done by me, Hermione added. Harry was responsible for stealing the raw materials and the initial brewing of the decoction was mainly done by Ronald. As she spoke, she also revealed a piece of news that Levin had not noticed. You don't know, Ronald's performance in class has been great during this period of time. He has never asked me to copy homework again, and he even got a certificate from the last Transfiguration class. That's Professor McGonagall's compliment. Really? Levin still finds it incredible, Ronald in the original book is not so beautiful, right? On the contrary, due to the broken wand, Ronald had trouble in various courses throughout the school year. Even if the Ronald in this world made a lot of extra money using scribe during the summer because of him, and had enough money to buy himself a new wand, but the progress shouldn't be so great, especially when it comes to brewing polyjuice potion. Levin would rather believe that it was Neville who made the decoction. The butterfly effect he brought didn't have such a big impact on Ronald. Levin felt that he smelled a conspiracy. Unfortunately, in the eyes of Hermione and Harry, Ronald was not a bad student in the first place, and it was normal to work hard to achieve this grade. So Levin's suspicions were put to rest. Hermione was transformed back into a human by him and did not need to be hospitalized. She just had to pay attention to hiding her ears and tail for the next month. Harry and Ronald came back soon. Naturally, their cliché copyright actions were in vain. For a whole hour, they only heard Draco complaining about why Harry was the heir and not him, and secretly complaining about Harry and Ronald from beginning to end. And they not only have to endure the other party's face-to-face accusations, but also have to nod and scold themselves in order to prevent exposure. That was frustrating, you can see in retrospect. As a result, Drake suffered retribution the next day. He was attacked at the corner of the corridor and turned into a stone statue. This caused an uproar at Hogwarts. Because this is the first pureblood to be attacked, originally, people thought that the monster in the secret room wanted to get rid of the muggles and squibs in the castle, but even if it failed, it would only affect the mixed blood wizards. Now even the pureblood wizards are suffering, it's so heartbreaking. Especially since Malfoy is the son of the school director. You have to hit hard. Update 5/4, additional update 2751. It's not easy to get a new book on the shelves. I'd like to ask for a wave of custom orders, a wave of flowers, monthly votes, reviews, and rewards. If you have votes, please give them to me, the author. This is really important to me. Chapter 137. Because Malfoy was attacked, since February, Dumbledore has been under frequent pressure from the school board. Ask him to take a plan as soon as possible to solve the problem of the secret room. The whole of Hogwarts became panicked again. In this case, Lockhart stood up and he announced in public that in order to save the endangered campus, he was going to debut as a campus idol. No, he was preparing a surprise to boost everyone's morale. February 14th, Valentine's Day. The little wizards finally knew how he planned to boost their morale. Early in the morning, hundreds of owls flew in. These owls were hovering over the auditorium like a layer of grey-brown clouds, but what falls in this cloud is not rain, but feathers and feces. At this time, the whole school's breakfast was almost completely wiped out. Only Levin reacted quickly enough and set up a force field barrier above his head, leaving a piece of pure land for Ravenclaw's dining table. So the wizards from the 4 colleges had to squeeze into a long table to eat. Hurry up, everyone is coming. Lockhart, wearing a bright pink robe, called on students to decorate the auditorium with items delivered by owls. As a result, the four walls of the auditorium were covered with large and dazzling pink flowers. To make matters worse, there were lots of heart-shaped confetti falling down from the light blue ceiling. It's like a wedding scene. Now, the dining table that had just been cleaned was in bad luck again. Colorful confetti kept falling into the little wizard's bread and tea. So everyone had to go to Ravenclaw to get some food. Compared with the disgusted wizard, the little witches obviously prefer this romantic arrangement. After all, breakfast is served every day, but Valentine's Day only comes once a year. At least in 1992. After the auditorium was completely decorated, Lockhart stood on the stage and waved his hand to keep everyone quiet. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Open your arms and declare, from now on, you can send me greeting cards. I will select a lucky girl and she can get my autograph. Lockhart said, showing his signature smile. This time, the response from students was muted. By now in this semester's course, most students have figured out that the peacock is actually just a beautiful flower stand with a silver-like wax gun tip. But Lockhart, who had experienced many battles, was not embarrassed at all and continued to say shamelessly, of course, I have to warn you in advance. Don't ignore your other professors because of me. I don't want to arouse their jealousy. Then, I saw him clapped his hands. 12 dwarfs with gloomy faces walked into the door leading to the foyer. Dwarfs are squat, humanoid magical creatures that are found all over the world, but have different names in each place, such as Curupilla in Brazil. And they are different from ordinary dwarves. Rahachi made them wear golden wings and carry harps on their backs, making them look doubly ugly. My friendly little cupids with cards. Lockhart beamed, they're going to be wandering around school today delivering Valentine's Day cards to you. Of course, the fun doesn't stop there. I believe all my colleagues are willing to participate enthusiastically. As if performing a show, Lockhart pointed at Professor Sprout. If you want to find some token of love, please go to Professor Sprout's greenhouse. I believe she is willing to share her carefully made secret roses with you, or provide mistletoe services. It is rumored that men and women under mistletoe must kiss. Professor Sprout had an embarrassed look on his head, and Snape beside him showed a sneer. Seeing Snape's expression, Lockhart boasted loudly, why don't you ask Professor Snape to teach you how to make a love potion? Even though he looks like this now, he never fails when it comes to potions. Unfortunately, his flattery hit the horse's leg. Snape instantly became gloomy, with a strange light shining in his eyes. It seemed that if anyone asked him for advice on how to make ecstasy, they would be forced to pour poison. Next, it's time to eat Professor Flitwick. In case you are interested, Professor Flitwick is more versed in the magic of enchantment than any wizard I've ever met, that cunning old dog. Professor Flitwick, who was smiling just now, immediately buried his face in his hands, wishing that no one could see him. Before Lockhart Q arrived, Professor McGonagall stood up and hurriedly left the auditorium. After hearing what Lockhart said, many people were ready to take action. Such as Harry, such as Percy Weasley, such as Cedric Diggory, etc. Indeed, today is really a good day to express your love, especially when there are little cupids doing the work for you. This is as much a risk reduction as an April Fool's Day truth or dare confession. The female prefect Pinello seemed to have noticed something and immediately warned loudly, if anyone dares to humiliate me with such a dwarf, I will not let him go even if I become a ghost. Ravenclaw's Zhongqiu, Gryffindor's Angelina, and others all agreed. Levin nodded in approval and glanced cautiously at some girls who were about to make a move. Let's go and find a safer place. Levin said, pulling Hermione and hurried away. If someone confesses his love to a dwarf in a crowded place, what's the difference between that and a public execution? Cedric wanted to find an excuse to talk to the dwarf alone, but before he took action, he was entangled by the dwarf first. Even though Cedric is Zhongqiu's love interest, he is actually not bad looking and belongs to the standard handsome boy template, and is very popular with his classmates. Among these students, there are both boys and girls, with a slightly larger proportion of boys. Probably around 73? After all, it is a corrupt country. Hufflepuff's reputation as a courtesan is not something he talks about casually. In just 1 hour, the dwarf read him 7 or 8 copies of the boy's honest official. Harry also had the same troubles. The only thing he was proud of was that most of the love letters read by the dwarfs were from girls. Even during class, the dwarfs didn't stop. They kept breaking into classrooms and delivering Valentine's Day cards, annoying the teachers. In terms of attractiveness, the highly charismatic Levin is the most popular. In the charms class, 12 dwarfs took turns to come in and read love letters to him. This made him start to feel for the first time that turning on charming every day was a bit too much. Professor Flitwick locked the door directly and did not allow any dwarfs to come in. As a result, they were lying outside the window, reading local love poems to him in a bad Scottish accent, which made him very angry. In the Transfiguration class, they still wanted to do this trick. Levin was so angry that he had an epiphany on the spot and changed the druid's animal ignore technique to dwarf ignore technique, forcing the group of dwarves not to see him. During the potions class in the afternoon, Professor Snape was uncharacteristically unpretentious and did not stop these guys from disturbing the class. Less than 2 minutes into class, 5 dwarfs rushed into the classroom and stood in a row in front of Levin's desk. Levin took out his wand and tried to repeat the morning method. Professor Snape said lazily, Levin Green, who asked you to take out your wand? 5 points from Ravenclaw. After saying that, he showed a malicious smile and acted deliberately. The Slytherin snakes burst into laughter. Levin understood that the old bat wanted to make himself sick. But he has so many tricks up his sleeve, it's hard to decide who will be disgusted. Since you can't use a wand, let's use wandless methods. With a thought, Levin mobilized his psychic powers and forcibly hypnotized the dwarfs. So I heard a dwarf strumming the harp and singing, "I have a singing Valentine's Day gift for Professor Snape." Nordjau, Snape was stunned. Good guy, the clown is actually me? Before he could react, the dwarf played the harp and took the lead in singing. Oh, Snape. The other dwarfs sing, oh. My dear old fellow. Chi, old fellow. You are so handsome. Chi, oh. Handsome. Your hair is like the blackest crow. Chi, oh crow. You are as black and cool as a bat. Chi, oh cool. For Merlin's sake, Chi, Merlin. You are mine. Chi, mine. You stupid old bat. Chi, old, Shen Feng Wu Ying. Snape's face turned black with anger, but fortunately he still had some sense and used magic to smash the greeting card. The dwarfs fled in a hurry. But they did not give up. Instead, they stood in the corridor and continued singing the little love song they wrote to Professor Snape. There was silence in the classroom. The little wizards wanted to laugh but tried to hold back their laughter. They neither dared to look at Snape nor looked out the window. Only Levin was secretly happy. Chapter 138. Although he gave Snape a good embarrassment in class, but Levin's revenge doesn't stop there. After class, he immediately returned to the Ravenclaw lounge and mobilized the young wizards of Ravenclaw to write love letters to Snape. Every time a qualified love letter is sent to Snape, Yewinfen is willing to accept it. He is about to use his money power. After hearing about this, the Weasley twins excitedly came to buy shares. During this time, they made a lot of money by making Levin's amulets, and they were willing to invest money in this area. So, the poor potions professor tried the navy attack for the first time. Not just dwarfs, throughout the night, there were at least 2 owls above his head trying to parachute down to him for a letter. He had to lock himself in the office. In this way, Lockhart fulfilled his promise to boost the morale of Hogwarts, but not in the way he wanted. In the morning, everyone actually used dwarfs to send love letters. But by the afternoon, the love letters turned into tools for mutual attacks and pranks. The little wizards really had a great time. It's a pity that the happiness brought by Valentine's Day disappeared after just one night. The day after Valentine's Day is Saturday, which happens to be the Quidditch match day. The two sides in the duel are Gryffindor and Ravenclaw 823. At almost 11 o'clock, the players from both sides entered the stadium amidst the earth-shattering cheers from the audience. The team members flew into the sky on broomsticks and flew around the goal post for warm-up. Miss Hooch, as referee, also released the ball. At this moment, Professor McGonagall suddenly walked and ran across the field, holding a huge purple microphone in his hand. Levin's heart sank when he saw this. The game is cancelled. Professor McGonagall spoke into the packed bleachers through a microphone. There were boos and shouts of disapproval from the crowd. Ravenclaw's team members were crestfallen. Gryffindor Oliver Wood stepped forward and attempted to argue with Professor McGonagall. Professor McGonagall ignored him and continued to shout with the microphone, "All students must return to the common room of the college, where the person in charge of the college will tell you more about the situation. Please leave as soon as possible." The Eagles returned to the common room in the tower. Roger was still dissatisfied. He sat dejectedly on his chair and muttered that the game had been cancelled. From now on, every class must be escorted by a teacher, all Quidditch practices and matches will be suspended, and there will no longer be any teaching activities in the evenings. All students must return to the common room of their college before 7 o'clock in the evening. No student is allowed to leave the dormitory after this time. No student is allowed to use the bathroom without the company of a teacher. Professor Flitwick announced the school's emergency document in the lounge, and then said in a deep voice, "Unfortunately, it is our Ravenclaw who was attacked this time." Marietta Acmo was petrified. Behind him, Marietta's friend Zhang Chu returned to the lounge sobbing, as if he had just returned from visiting him. Levin immediately stepped forward to ask for details. Marietta was attacked at the door of Lockhart's office, she told Levin with a tearful voice. She told me this morning that she didn't find a chance to send a love letter to Lockhart yesterday, and she must deliver it to Lockhart this morning. She has always been Lockhart's most loyal admirer, who would have thought, she is Gilderoy Lockhart's scapegoat. In Zhang Chu's intermittent statement, Levin gradually understood the details. Marietta's luck is that she bought Levin's amulet at Zhang Chu's strong suggestion. It is estimated that the amulet played a role this time, allowing her to notice something was wrong in advance. This is why, like Justin, she held the amulet tightly in her hand before being petrified. She survived because she did not turn around rashly, but saw the attacker from the reflection on the metal door handle of Lockhart's office. However, what is the use of knowing all this? Attacks occur again and again at Hogwarts, the culprit has not been caught for a long time, many young wizards are aware that schools are likely to close again. During dinner time, Hermione sneaked over to tell Levin that she had heard about the incident 50 years ago from Myrtle and asked for some clues from her. According to her, the incident might be related to Hagrid. She plans to go to the Forbidden Forest with Harry to find Hagrid. It's a pity that Ronald has been too sleepy to come with us these 2 days. Hermione said with some pity. Nonsense, he was probably the one who did it. He controlled the basilisk to wander around the school all day long. How could he not feel sleepy? You can't expect him to investigate himself. Of course, this is just Levin's wishful thinking, and he has no direct evidence yet. But it doesn't matter. He plans to go to the Forbidden Forest tonight to ask for clues from the unicorns and centaurs. As a giant monster, the basilisk needs to eat now that it has been released from the secret room. Considering that only the little wizard is petrified in the castle and no little wizard is missing, then there is only one place where it can feed, the Forbidden Forest. In fact, Levin originally didn't intend to take care of this troublesome matter. Although the basilisk is powerful, it is not the target of his planned animagus transformation. And he currently has no urgent need for the magic materials from the basilisk, so naturally he has little interest in hunting down the basilisk. But now seeing Hermione so busy fighting against the air and the basilisk, then I thought of Zhangqiu's sad cry in the lounge, even though Marietta had no friendship with him, but after all, Zhangqiu chased him for most of the semester. Although she is just a female licker, she is also his Levin's female licker. Levin always couldn't bear to do this. The most important thing is that Levin has now roughly deduced that the person controlled by the diary is no longer Ginny, but Ronald. The butterfly effect has already occurred, and what happens next may not develop like the original plot. To avoid an accident, Levin finally decided to do something. After dinner, Levin used advanced invisibility to hide his figure and walked straight towards the Forbidden Forest. When he arrived at the edge of the Forbidden Forest, Levin felt inexplicably that the forest in front of him was more dangerous than before. The hills deep in the Forbidden Forest are hidden in the darkness. Although the bright moon hangs high in the night sky, the layers of branches completely block the moonlight, preventing it from illuminating this forbidden land. Advanced invisibility is superior to invisibility in that it allows the caster to use simple magic when invisible. Levin threw a dancing light technique to light up the path ahead, but when he really saw the Forbidden Forest in front of him, he couldn't help but take a breath of air. It's clearly spring, but the forest in front of me is as small as autumn. Along the way, the ground was full of dead black branches and leaves, and he had lost count of how many dead animals he had seen. In addition, Levin also saw a lot of bloody clumps. It seems to be the residue that some animals spit out after digestion. The further you go into the Forbidden Forest, the more terrifying your surroundings become. There were no other sounds around, only deathly silence. Even Levin, who was extremely familiar with the Forbidden Forest, couldn't help but shudder when he looked at the snarling dead trees around him. It's only been 2 weeks since I've been here, and the Forbidden Forest has turned into this. He became even more anxious and quickly headed towards the unicorn's lair. Fortunately, this kind of blighted area is limited to the outer and middle layers of the Forbidden Forest. The deeper ecology has not been damaged. The unicorn lair is as beautiful and peaceful as ever. Sensing Levin's aura, when he arrived at the lake, Larry jumped up to meet him. Chapter 139. Levin, you finally came to see me. Larry was extremely excited when he saw Levin's figure. She jumped up and rubbed against him, almost causing him to fall to the ground. Sorry, Larry, I'm late. Levin stroked the unicorn's head and tidied up the rich man for her. Beside her, several little unicorns also gathered around and circled around Levin. Some of them were holding berries in their mouths to entertain Levin, while others were tugging at his pants, looking so naive. It makes Levin almost cute. After stroking the unicorn, Levin asked Larry, on my way here, I found that the situation in the Forbidden Forest was not very good. There were dead trees and dead animals everywhere. What happened? It was that monster that did it. In fact, I noticed traces of it soon after Levin started school, but it wasn't until recently that it became active. When Larry said this, he was sad and scared. Fortunately, our lair was hidden deep, so it never came close. But if this continues, it will be a matter of time before the basilisk discovers this place. Levin whispered the facts. Who says it's not? Larry lowered her head, and then looked at the boy with her beautiful eyes. Levin, I know this is difficult for you, but I still want to ask, can you help me? Larry's voice was very soft and her tone was pitiful. When he met her blue eyes, Levin suddenly felt ashamed. This little guy was really scared. I shouldn't leave the basilisk alone just because I find it troublesome. The basilisk harms not only the little wizard in the castle, but also the creatures in the Forbidden Forest. He should have come to visit her sooner. What are you talking about, Larry? Levin hugged her neck tightly. Don't worry, we are good friends. So no matter what you ask for, I will agree to it. Really? Larry raised her head in surprise. You are really great. The happy Larry immediately started licking Levin's face with her tongue, making his face wet. Seemingly finding it interesting, a little unicorn followed suit and licked Levin's hanging right hand. Okay, Larry, that's it. After a long while, Levin stopped the other party's enthusiasm, and then continued, Larry, have you ever thought about moving out of here? What? Moving? Larry seemed to understand. Is the method Levin mentioned moving? Yes, Levin nodded, but I promise you can come back anytime you want. The place I prepared for you is an independent space where there will be no monsters, no danger, and plenty of food. In fact, it is near my home. Yes, the habitat Levin prepared for Lara was the large forest surrounding the tower in his demi-plane. This time Larry understood. So, Levin wants us to move near your house? Okay, I would like to be neighbors with Levin. Besides, what I prepared, did you agree? Seeing that the other party agreed so easily, Levin was a little surprised. In fact, he had long wanted to migrate some magical creatures from the Forbidden Forest to his own forest. I have no choice but to find no reason and no suitable method. Now that Larry and the little unicorns can move in, it is undoubtedly a good start. The unicorn is the lord of the forest. As long as the unicorn is around, it will soon attract a series of other magical creatures. It can be said that Levin has long wanted them to move to his place. For this reason, he even prepared a lot of reasons to persuade Larry. But now it seems that it was a blank shot. Judging from the other party's appearance, it seems that he is willing to move in as long as he says a word, and there is no need to waste any words. Levin was a little surprised about this. Did you not think about it before you agreed? What if I lied? What if the place I mentioned is not as beautiful as I imagined? But Levin won't lie. Larry said matter-of-factly. Since Levin said it, Larry will believe it. If Levin wants to be neighbors with Larry, Larry will accompany him. The unicorn's somewhat innocent speech moved Levin for a while. He hugged the other person's neck again. Don't worry, Larry, I will take good care of you. Then, he took Larry and the little unicorns to use the mansion technique. In an instant, the unicorns found themselves in a new world. The vegetation here is not as prosperous as the Forbidden Forest, and the species are not too rich, but the scenery is still picturesque. The trees are growing well one by one, and the small animals in the forest have smooth fur and happy expressions. She even saw an evil bird flying over curiously. It's a pity that they are all a little too good looking, and they will inevitably develop in a primitive, wild direction. If left unchecked, this place will soon become like a dangerous rainforest. All this is because of the huge oak tree next to the tower not far away. AE copyright AE degree AE, AAC 1/4 C 1/2 copyright C Euro A, AEC AE degree AE, C superscript 3 OE, C, E trademark A Euro C superscript 20 registered trademark copyright AE per thousand registered trademark AE a degree A Euro A degree superscript 2A, AN superscript 20 per thousand A 3/4, A 1/2 EOI AOE trademark AC A, AOE AEN AN superscript 1 A Euro A registered trademark A with diaresis 1/4 A with ring above A 3/4 AEC AE. EEA 1/4 degree A Euro A 1/2 AE AOE AE, EA degree ECA with ring above EA with diaresis. A with ring above C registered trademark AEY, A superscript 1 1/4 A with ring above. Plus or minus A registered trademark superscript 3 AEC copyright A Euro EA CEA, 1/2 A copyright C a degree plus or minus AE pound registered trademark E cent A, ECC registered trademark CA, AE cent C11 yen superscript 1 A degree E trademark C. A registered trademark AOE degree, A yen superscript 1 A degree plus or minus AEOE per thousand E pound A registered trademark copyright E trademark AAA 3/4 AE yen 1/2 A Euro superscript 3 A degree E trademark EOE, AE per thousand registered trademark EAEC a degree AE pound AAA with tilde Euro E degree cent A 1/2, 11 E degree cent A 1/2 E registered trademark copyright AEAC AOE trademark EOE, AEC Euro AE cent A degree A Euro AOE, AE per thousand registered trademark AE cent A superscript 1 Levine, AE 3/4 AA with ring above. 11 AE 1/4 A 1/2 AE per thousand CAN 1/2 E trademark C per thousand AE Euro AE cent CAAE, E trademark EOE degree plus or minus C trademark A 1/2 AA degree AA Euro 11 EO yen AEOE yen AE per thousand, AA with ring above A degree CEA, 1/2 AA with ring above degree CA Euro CA degree registered trademark copyright CEA, 1/2 AEA degree A with diaresis 1/2. E cent A degree, A per thousand. ACA degree, E registered trademark copyright Levina. AEA, A, CEA. 1/2 A cent AE with ring above, AE per thousand registered trademark A superscript 20 A Euro AA. CA with diaresis degree E pound, yen AE yen EA 3/4 A with ring above AE per thousand 3/4 E copyright A degree A Euro A degree, ACA 1/4 Euro C copyright degree AE CEA, 1/2 A cent C copyright, E 1/2 C AEOE C Euro E copyright A degree A plus or minus E degree AE superscript 1 AEA with ring above, E degree A Euro A. EOEA EOE, CCA 1/4 AE yen E. A Euro AE copyright A degree A yen, AEOE per thousand C Euro C degree cent E per thousand superscript 2 AAE pound C degree cent E per thousand superscript 2 A degree registered trademark E copyright E degree, A cent EAEC Euro AE C degree cent A degree 3/4 A Euro A, C 1/2 A. AE trademark A with diaresis A with ring above yen 1/2 A Euro 11 EKOE degree AAE per thousand A degree AAE 1/4 A Euro EOI yen A 3/4 Euro E copyright A degree 1/2 A superscript 1 AACA. 1/2 A. C a degree A Euro please give me flour sa Euro A 1/2 A yen 1/2 A, A degree A 1/2 EA superscript 1 A Euro C 1/2 A. A Euro AE 1/4 A, C AE per thousand AEOE A 3/4 registered trademark A 3/4 registered trademark A Euro E degree A Euro EA degree AA with ring above degree AE degree, AE superscript 2 A, EE pound A superscript 1 A registered trademark cent AE degree, AAE Levina degree plus or minus EOE Euro AA with ring above registered trademark A with ring above copyright E yen E 1/2 EOE A 3/4 E superscript 2 A 1/4 A with ring above 1/4 Euro A. 11 AOAE per thousand Euro AOE per thousand E copyright A degree pound E 1/2 A 3/4 A degree E. A superscript 1 A with ring above A degree, E trademark E registered trademark copyright A Euro C AOE per thousand A degree A. A superscript 1 A Euro Levina A degree AEOE A superscript 1 A yen co AOE yen A degree A, C 1/2 A. A yen 1/2 A yen EA Euro A. 1/2 E trademark A superscript 20, AE superscript 3 A yen A degree E pound A Euro A C AE pound A Euro C per thousand copyright E A Euro 11 EAEA. Co AOE yen AE degree A Euro AE cent CAAE, E registered trademark copyright AEA degree AEA Euro C 1/2 A. AE copyright A pound degree A plus or minus AE 3/4 superscript 20 degree E 3/4 superscript 20 A Euro A registered trademark Levina A degree trademark AEA yen A 3/4 A. AEA Euro trademark, AA degree trademark AE registered trademark AE, E pound AA Euro C per thousand copyright CCAEA with diaresis degree EA yen, A with ring above pound A superscript 1 A 3/4 A, A 1/4 Euro AOE CEOE trademark A registered trademark per thousand Euro A degree A superscript 1 A, EA. 1/2 CE superscript 1, EA degree E trademark EOE, C 1/2 A. AEOE per thousand A degree AEAE colon Euro EAA registered trademark A with diaresis 1/4 A superscript 1 A with ring above 3/4 EAE AOE A degree A superscript 1 A AE superscript 2 AEOE per thousand A. AEN E per thousand degree AEA. A Euro A superscript 1 superscript 1 AEN 1/2 Levina A degree C trademark AEA Euro AEN E A 1/4 A superscript 1 registered trademark copyright A registered trademark A with diaresis. AEAE Euro EAA registered trademark AOEAE cent A pound A degree A, co 1/4 AE, A Euro A. EEOI trademark A superscript 1 A with ring above A superscript 1 ya. AEA with ring above superscript 3 A superscript 1 A per thousand. EEN A degree A Euro C superscript 3 AE per thousand 3/4 Levina A degree registered trademark E registered trademark degree CA, superscript 3 registered trademark E cent A Euro 0 AAA. CC, EOEA EOEA 1/4 AEN A degree A with ring above A pound degree A. A Euro C 3/4 E pound EA per thousand AE pound plus or minus AE pound plus or minus AOE degree E pound A with diaresis degree EAEN, E pound AEA superscript 1 plus or minus E 1/2 E superscript 1 A registered trademark OEA, AEAOE 1/2 E. E Euro A, AAOE per thousand A Euro AECC AE 1/2 A degree A with ring above A Euro AEA superscript 1 plus or minus EN A pound degree A. AEAEN AEA. Lavina 1/2 A. A superscript 1 E cent E trademark CAA, AEN E degree A with ring above AE per thousand AE. 11 A degree A yen AOEA superscript 1 A per thousand, EAOE degree co A pound degree EY superscript 3 A 1/4 A yen AE superscript 1 A Euro C 1/2 A. A trademark CEA degree AA with ring above. Degree A 1/4 AEC registered trademark AA per thousand. E degree AA yen A degree 11 EO AOEA degree AA with tilde Euro EAEA superscript 1 plus or minus A pound degree EY superscript 3 A Euro EAE, A Euro AC pound CAA degree A. Co 1/4 AE copyright C Euro AOE degree E 1/2 A superscript 2 A degree EAEN, A registered trademark A with diaresis A 3/4 C Euro A degree A Euro C per thousand A pound degree A Euro A registered trademark A with diaresis E pound EA superscript 1 A with diaresis superscript 1 A with tilde Euro AE pound registered trademark AE pound registered trademark E, A Euro AO degree AE per thousand A with ring above A co 1/4 C 1/2 C A 3/4 A, C Euro E trademark A. Plus or minus E trademark copyright C E per thousand copyright co A with ring above A superscript 1 EA with ring above AE. A. E Euro EAOE Euro A with ring above 1/2, EAOE per thousand AEA. Plus or minus E trademark copyright C E per thousand copyright E 1/2 AOEA AE degree AA with tilde Euro AA trademark A degree A, co 1/4 AE, AE, OEA. AE copyright E, A 1/2 E 1/2 AE AOE degree A C Euro 11 AE superscript 1 A superscript 2 A degree EAEN A Euro A degree plus or minus AOE Levina. Superscript 3 A degree AE per thousand AE, E cent A per thousand. CCA. EA Euro E. AE pound A superscript 1 A cent trademark, C per thousand cent AEOEA 1/2 A, co 1/4 AEA with ring above EA Euro AOEA, E degree AA with diaresis 1/4 AEN A Euro EAN 1/2 A plus or minus A, AEA with ring above 1/4 Euro, E registered trademark A with ring above EOEA, E trademark EOEA. AE cent EA with diaresis 1/2 A, AE per thousand AE pound AA, co 1/4 AE Euro, CAE degree 1/2 AE superscript 1 A, AA 1/2 A superscript 1 Levina AE Euro EA. EA Euro E, CE. AE pound A superscript 1 A cent trademark AEOEA A Euro AE superscript 1 A Euro A with ring above A Euro Levina A with ring above co A with ring above, A Euro AE 1/4 A degree registered trademark AEN superscript 3 copyright A degree AEOEA AEN superscript 1 AEOE per thousand C Euro E per thousand superscript 2 E copyright E degree, A 1/2 copyright E trademark superscript 1 E per thousand superscript 2 AAA with ring above degree 3/4 AE, AEA C Euro E. AE pound plus or minus, AE per thousand AEOEA E degree AC Euro C 3/4 1/2 AE pound. EN degree A with ring above, EOE superscript 2 A degree A Euro E degree AN C 3/4 E degree AE co AA with ring above Psi AN EA with ring above A Euro EN. 11 EO AN superscript 3 copyright A degree AOEN AE per thousand A Euro A degree Euro A, A 1/2 C A degree Yen co AEA, AN superscript 3 copyright A degree A, AN EA degree Levine cent A per thousand. A Euro A copyright plus or minus E, A degree plus or minus A with ring above plus or minus A Euro A degree A copyright A Euro C A degree AOEA N superscript 3 copyright A degree C trademark AOEA Euro A degree plus or minus E trademark C superscript 1 A. AN 1/2 E degree EA registered trademark EAA degree AA Euro. Chapter 140. As a proud centaur, Ronan is no worse than any human in terms of worldliness. Seeing the two people in front of me reminiscing about old times intimately, the guy who caused the eight-eyed spider to run away had no intention of catching up. Ronan then bowed far away. Since Mr. Levin has been delivered, I will take my leave first. After that, he left the scene quietly. What a good person who knows the current affairs. Okay, Daisy, stop it. Levin finally broke free from the warm arms of the horsewoman and set foot on the earth again. I'm not a child. Ronan has seen it all. Hey, hee, it's not because the little teacher hasn't come to see me. Daisy touched the back of her head and giggled, I miss you. Alas, why didn't he see it at first? The original Daisy was such a strong and optimistic little girl. Becoming a druid completely liberated Daisy's nature, who knows how she became naive after liberating her nature. Okay, Ronan said you've always wanted to discuss things with me about the basilisk. Yes. Daisy nodded repeatedly. Originally, we were able to suppress it with the rooster you sent us, but recently that guy has gone too far. If we don't deal with this problem as soon as possible, we will all be in trouble. But, let's discuss the specific matters in my cabin. As she spoke, she stood sideways in front of Levin, bending her knees slightly. Well, you mean, let me ride on it. Levin blinked. Isn't this 100 not very good? I heard that horse people will regard this behavior as an insult. TCH, only an old man like Bane would think so. Daisy looked dismissive when talking about this. Besides, why do we have such a relationship that we still care about this? Okay, you're right. Levin was moved. Then I won't be polite. With that said, he climbed onto the horsewoman's horse. Hurry up. After Daisy said that, she turned around and ran away. Levin realized something was wrong after riding on her. The horseman has no saddle on his back, and no mane for him to hold onto. Daisy has a lively temperament, loves to run and jump, and is very active when running. But this bump was too much for Levin to bear. It's not that he's dizzy, it's that he doesn't understand. Where should he catch him? Where can he catch it? Where does he want to catch? Resisting the urge to grab the handle, Levin reluctantly concentrated on the bumps, used magic to braid Daisy's recently grown hair into a ponytail, and then used it as a hand. The psychic ability sensed that the other party seemed a little disappointed. Soon, Daisy took him to a tall oak tree next to the valley. Here, relying on oak trees, a large wooden house was built, which is Daisy's home. Shortly after becoming a druid, Daisy moved away from the centaur's tribe. It's not that she had a falling out with the centaur, on the contrary, her prestige among the centaurs is now comparable to that of leader Marjorie. The wise leadership of the leader is certainly the foundation for the survival of the centaur's tribe, but druids can provide many magical services that the centaurs urgently need. For example, which plants in the forest are poisonous and which fruits are not poisonous. Ordinary horse people have to rely on experience to distinguish, or take risks and try it themselves. But in Daisy's case, only a basic detect poison is enough. Not to mention her services in tribal breeding, planting, medical treatment, etc. Even when the tribe needed to stargaze, she could use druid magic to clear a clear sky. Now, she has changed from the rebellious girl that everyone disliked to a strong woman that everyone respects. However, druid practice requires closeness to nature, which cannot be achieved by staying in the tribe. Daisy understood very clearly that the respect she received ultimately came from her own strength. Therefore, if she wants to maintain this respect and go further, she cannot stay in the tribe all day long. Instead, you have to move out, live in nature, and seek breakthroughs. Levin still remembers Daisy's determination when she announced to him that she was moving. The boy did not expect that this centaur girl, who once lacked recognition, could actually give up the life of being flattered by everyone all the time, and opening her mouth when she had clothes to eat. From this perspective, she is indeed very suitable for the druid profession. Thinking of this, Levin took another look at the centaur girl parked in front of the wooden house happily. Sometimes he really doubts whether the two are the same person. One little teacher, we are here. Daisy turned around and reminded me cheerfully, hey, seeing Larry driving you around every day, I've wanted to do this for a long time. After Levin came down, the horsewoman walked around her, looking eager to try. After experiencing this, Daisy fully understood why the proud unicorn was willing to carry him every day. Being ridden like this, I can spend a few moments with the little teacher openly and openly. Occasionally, with an occasional bump, she could feel the little teacher's whole body pressed against her back. That feeling, you will never get tired of it no matter how many times you repeat it. Larry is so out of friends that he eats alone? That's bad. Next time, Daisy will give the little teacher a lift. She declared seriously. Then you'd better tie your hair in advance next time. Levin agreed helplessly. I always feel that when I get along with the opposite S**x recently, I am always the one who gets picked up. This feeling made him a little uncomfortable. I need to act stronger. While thinking about it, Levin walked into the cabin under the leadership of Daisy. The wooden house is very spacious, both in height and area, it is much larger than it looks. This is all thanks to the space expansion spell cast by Levin himself. In fact, Levin was deeply involved in Daisy's move and the establishment of her new home. This tall oak tree was ripened and grown by Levin himself. I have no choice but to suffer as my apprentice. Daisy arranged for Levin to sit down on a wicker chair, and then made a pot of scented tea. Speaking of which, why don't we see Larry today? Daisy was a little surprised. On weekdays, Levin always goes to visit the unicorn first, and then rides the unicorn to visit her. Could it be that the little teacher is the first to visit me today? She asked expectantly. But Levin shook her head to interrupt her reverie. No, actually I went to visit Larry first. But in order to prevent the attack of the basilisk, I helped Larry move. Moving? Where? Daisy asked curiously. Move to a demi-plane, you can understand it as a small independent world. Specifically, it is near my home. When Daisy heard this, she immediately pouted, little teacher, you are too unfavorable to one another. There are obviously so many creatures attacked by basilisks, why do you only care about unicorns? No, I also want to live with the little teacher. No, I mean, I also want to be my neighbor with the little teacher. Daisy changed her usual chic look and shouted like a little girl. Levin couldn't hold himself any longer. Stop being willful, Daisy, what will happen to your tribe if you move there? You can't expect them to control the rooster to fight against the basilisk. But, Daisy pouted, showing an aggrieved expression, and looked at him with bright pink pupils. It's a pity that I couldn't hold back a tear for a long time. She is obviously a tomboy, but she insists on pretending to be a weak girl in front of her, which makes it difficult for Daisy. Levin thought for a moment and said, how about this? I'll just arrange a passage for you leading to my house, and you and I will be considered neighbors. How about that? Upon hearing this, Daisy immediately became excited. Is this really okay? Levin nodded. You still don't believe me? Saying this, he went out and came under the oak tree. Levin asked Daisy for some mushroom spores and sprinkled them on the ground under her curious gaze. Then comes the natural magic to ripen. Soon, these spores grew into a complete mushroom circle. The so-called mushroom circle, also called fairy circle, called goblin circle, fairy circle in English, is actually a strange phenomenon produced when fungi grow, which is caused by the radiation growth of mushroom mycelium. The mycelium grows radially from the middle point to the surroundings. Over time, the center point and the aging hyphae die one after another, and the vitality outside is strong, thus forming a natural mycelial ring, which grows into a mushroom circle. Therefore, the so-called mushroom circle looks like a circle of mushrooms. In fact, underground, the hyphae of these mushrooms are all connected to the same center of the circle. In reality, mushroom circles are just a normal natural phenomenon. But in natural magic, it has a unique meaning. Levin planted a mushroom circle under Daisy's oak tree. I also took a piece of mycelium from the mushroom circle, turn on the mansion technique and return to the demi-plane, and plant it under your own towering oak tree. And catalyzed another mushroom circle through natural magic. Since then, 2 completely homologous mushroom circles have been planted. As the natural ritual unfolds, ripples in space suddenly appear in the center of this mushroom circle. Daisy on the other side also saw this. She stepped gently into the mushroom circle. The next moment he found that he had left the druid hut and came to a huge tower. And her little teacher was looking at her with a smile. How about it? This won't be considered partial. Before Levin could finish speaking, he was picked up by her again. Little teacher, you are so kind to me. Falling into Daisy's arms again, Levin could smell the scent of flowers and trees on her body. I always feel like there are a pair of big soft balls on my chest, which is very uncomfortable. After a while, Chu Wen was put down. Are you satisfied now? Daisy nodded repeatedly. In that case, let's talk about the basilisk. I can solve the basilisk problem for you, but Daisy, you are the main force of the centaurs against the basilisk. I want to get some relevant information from you. Little teacher, just ask, I will tell you everything you know. Daisy said cheerfully. The entire centaur tribe and she herself were indebted to Levin, so naturally he could satisfy any request he made. Levin nodded and asked, you have to tell me, during your recent inspection of the Forbidden Forest, did you see a little red-haired wizard? The red-haired wizard. Daisy tilted her head. What does he probably look like? My face is full of freckles, and I have an ordinary appearance, and by the way, I have a big nose. Daisy thought for a moment and nodded. You put it like that, I seem to have seen these 4.6 wizards, and more than once. That's right. She suddenly slapped her thigh. I remember, every time I see that little wizard, it seems almost all after the basilisk wreaked havoc. Sure enough, it's him. Levin nodded. In this case, he can prepare to start with Ronald to solve this trouble. But before that, he had to find a way to eliminate the threat of the basilisk. The skill of having someone die just by looking at each other is really a bit unbelievable. You know, the petrified magic eye, which turns to stone when you look at it, is also the highest level spell among druid spells. And there is also a young man of great strength, Voldemort, as an assistant. If there were only basilisks, Levin could blindfold his eyes and use his psychic powers instead of vision to guide the battle. A single young man named Voldemort, even if his spiritual state was immune to some spells, was not a big deal to Levin. But the two are different when combined. The basilisk can make up for Voldemort's lack of frontal combat effectiveness. And Voldemort can help the basilisk deal with various targeted strange moves. Faced with this combination, Levin inevitably has to be cautious. But now he has specific plans. Those who have played Baldur's Gate 3 should be deeply impressed by the ghost house and the mushroom circle in the Underdark. The picture shows Daisy's human form. It's hard to find the horse human form, so just use this as a reference for the upper body. Chapter 141. Early the next morning, the entire Hogwarts was shocked by new news. The Ministry of Magic suspected that Hagrid had opened the Chamber of Secrets and sent him to Azkaban prison. Dumbledore was also collectively dismissed by the school board. Unprecedented fear spread rapidly in the castle. It was clear that there was a picturesque spring day outside the window, but it could not warm the hearts of people in Hogwarts. Every face in the school looked fearful and uneasy. Harry kept repeating to himself Dumbledore's last words last night. Only when everyone here betrays me will I really leave this school. At Hogwarts, those who ask for help will always get it. Last night he and Hermione visited Hagrid and asked him the truth about 50 years ago. Unfortunately, when they were about to leave, Minister of Magic Cornelius Fudge, Dumbledore, and several school directors broke in and took Hagrid away. The school directors even announced that they had voted to expel Dumbledore. These words were exactly what Dumbledore said before leaving. Harry suspected that Dumbledore did it on purpose. He discovered 24 himself hiding beside him. But what's the use of these words? Ronald has been absent from adventure activities for several days because of sleepiness. Only Hermione can investigate the truth with him. Now they have some clues, but who should they turn to for help? Levin Green. Harry said, at this point, he is the only one who can help us. We should have asked him long ago. Hermione pouted, but before that, I have to go to the library, and this trip to the Forbidden Forest gave me new inspiration. At noon, Levin was intercepted by the two men in the corridor. Levin, you have to help us. Harry grabbed his sleeve and said to him eagerly, do we already know what the monster in the secret room is? Oh? You know. Levin raised his eyebrows, tell me, what information do you know? Harry quickly said like he was pouring beans, yesterday we visited Hagrid, and he told me that someone had actually opened the secret room 50 years ago and killed a student. That was Myrtle in the bathroom, where she remained after her death. However, Hagrid became a scapegoat, and he was dismissed as the culprit who opened the Chamber of Secrets. But we know that Hagrid did hide a monster, but what he hid was an acromantula, the ones in the Forbidden Forest. This kind of monster is not, it has no ability to turn people to stone. So what is the real monster? Levin asked cooperatively. Harry looked at Hermione, who nodded and proudly told Levin her conclusion, the monster in the secret room is a basilisk. That's what the book says. There are many terrible beasts and monsters wandering around our country, the most bizarre and lethal of which is the basilisk, also known as the Snake King. This snake, which can grow very large and often live for hundreds of years, is hatched from an egg by a toad. The way the basilisk kills is astonishing. In addition to its deadly fangs, its glare can also kill. Anyone caught in its gaze will die immediately. Spiders will run away when they see a basilisk, because the basilisk is the mortal enemy of spiders, and the basilisk will run for its life as soon as it hears the crowing of a rooster, because the crowing of a rooster is also fatal to it. As she spoke, she said excitedly, these conditions, in fact, can all be met. Harry could hear whispers in the castle that others could not hear, because he heard the words of the basilisk, and Harry is a parcel mouth cavity. The reason why the attacked were only petrified is because all of them indirectly saw the basilisk's gaze. The acromantulas in the Forbidden Forest are running around because of the discovery of the basilisk, and Hagrid's chicken coop was attacked because the murderer wanted to prevent the basilisk from being killed by the crow of the chicken. Speaking of this, she said strangely, since the method of cultivating basilisks is so simple, then there should be many basilisks. But why is it mentioned in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them that there are already at least 400 in Dayan? There have been no recorded sightings of the basilisk in years. Harry also looked at Levin. Levin explained, not just any egg can hatch a basilisk, it has to be a male egg. Does the rooster have eggs? Harry asked curiously. Of course a rooster can have eggs. Levin said, in fact, if you understand Muggle biology, you will find that compared to humans, the gender boundaries in birds are not that large, and under extreme conditions, the gender of birds can change. For example, when there are no roosters in the flock, hens will occasionally transform into roosters. The rooster in this case actually has the sexual characteristics of both a rooster and a hen. If it is interfered with by magic, the rooster can indeed produce eggs. After listening to Levin's words, the two of them opened their mouths. This was the first time they heard such exciting knowledge. Seeing that the two were interested, Levin continued to popularize science. Actually, the phenomenon of such eggs being hatched by alien creatures and giving birth to magical beasts is not just a basilisk. We all know that snakes are cold-blooded animals and they cannot hatch eggs, but if a snake hatches a hen's egg, it will give birth to a cockatrice. This creature is not as deadly as the basilisk, but there the toxin also petrifies the victim. There is also a more extreme case. If the egg laid by a snake is hatched by a rooster, a basilisk will be born. It is a lizard with 8 legs. They have a gaze similar to that of a basilisk, although they cannot directly kill people. But it can also turn people into stone. Cockatrice? Basilisk? The two of them were stunned by Levin's popular science. It turns out that there are so many messy things in the magic world. This is too weird. Seeing that the discussion was about to go astray, Levin himself got back to the point. Your analysis of the monster sounds very reasonable. I also think the monster in the secret room is a basilisk. You did a good job on this. Hermione looked happy when she heard this, and Harry also opened his mouth. It is really rare to get praise from Levin Green. But do you know who the heir who opened the secret room is? We thought it was Malfoy before, but when we lurked around him, we found nothing. Later, even Malfoy himself was petrified. Harry spread his hands. Did you come to any conclusion? Hermione's eyes lit up, otherwise you wouldn't ask this question specifically. Clever. Levin nodded. I do come to the conclusion that the heir is Ronald Weasley, at least for now. Update 5/4, additional update 28/56. It's not easy to get a new book on the shelves. I'd like to ask for a wave of custom orders, a wave of flowers, monthly votes, reviews, and rewards. If you have votes, please give them to me, the author. This is really important to me. Chapter 142. Ronald? Currently. Hermione heard this and fell into deep thought. But, how is it possible? Harry couldn't believe it, and he defended loudly, why do you think so? Ronald's family has been Gryffindor for 3 generations, and he has always been by our side. There is no way he can be the heir. Levin waved his hand, perhaps your previous thinking fell into a misunderstanding, thinking that the so-called heir must be someone who has inherited the Slytherin bloodline. But is there a possibility that the heir can also be a curse or a certain person? Magic props that can hypnotize others, or directly control someone to achieve their own goals. You mean? Harry opened his mouth, but didn't come up with a retort. Even he sensed something was wrong. Yes, according to this idea, it is not just a few purebloods who can open the secret chamber. We can expand the scope of suspicion to everyone again, and since this kind of hypnosis and control goes against people's original intentions, we only need to find out the manifestations the most abnormal person will do. Of all the people, the one who behaves most abnormally is Ronald. The more Hermione thought about it, the more reasonable it became. Polyjuice potion, Ronald's behavior, his sleepiness. Levin is indeed right. But Ronald was with me when Mrs. Norris was attacked. He had no chance to do that. Harry pointed out the loophole. So Levin said temporarily before, Hermione took the initiative to explain to Levin, Ronald was probably controlled later. When school started, he was very normal, otherwise he wouldn't be stupid enough to be with you. Drive to school. Harry, why do you still remember this nonsense? Harry thought about it again and again, but couldn't think of any other reason to refute it. Levin's reasoning is too rigorous and reasonable, so much so that after he thought about it, he felt that Ronald might be the culprit. Finally, Levin offered his trump card. When you went to visit Hagrid, I went to the Forbidden Forest to visit the centaurs, and they told me that when the basilisk was raging in the Forbidden Forest, they did see a little red-haired wizard. Harry was completely speechless. He believed that Levin was not innocent, the horseman's testimony is most likely true. In the end, he could only say, I'll go find Ronald and ask. Then he ran towards the Gryffindor lounge. Wait! Levin shouted. Harry looked back and saw Levin throwing an amulet over. From the outside, this amulet looks similar to the one sold by the Weasley twins. But the workmanship and quality far exceed those products. I'll lend you this first to prevent you from having an accident, Levin said. Hide it so no one finds it. With it, even if you have an accident, we can come to save you. Thank you, Levin. Although he didn't want to believe that Ronald was the one who opened the secret room, Harry thought about it carefully and carefully hid the amulet under his clothes. Don't be afraid of 10,000, just be afraid of what happens. Waving to Levin, he turned and left. What about us? Seeing Harry walking away, Hermione looked at Levin. What are we doing now? Of course we have a mission. Call Siri and accompany me back to the tower to perform the wilderness ritual. Levin said, taking out a beautiful emerald feather from his pocket and shaking it towards Hermione. It was just delivered this morning. This will be our trump card against the basilisk. Soon, they found Siri in the Ravenclaw lounge, and the three of them returned to the tower under the oak tree. Levin temporarily opened up half a plane, allowing this small world to communicate with the entire world. Then returned to the basement and start brewing the Eternal Owl's Wisdom Elixir. Siri and Hermione began to prepare for the wild ritual with the last ceremony as an example. They were quite familiar with it this time. Time flies tonight, and the production of Eternal Owl's Wisdom Elixir is completed. Levin held a cyan crystal bottle and came to the tree. At this time, the wilderness ritual preparations are complete. Two girls were having a great time playing with some little unicorns. Larry stood by their side. After discovering that Levin and others had returned to the tower, she came over immediately. Levin, I didn't expect that there are unicorns near your home. You never told me before. Seeing Levin, Hermione said to him excitedly. Levin chuckled when he heard this. These unicorns just moved here yesterday. Well, she is the Larry I mentioned to you. So she is Larry. Hearing this, Siri and Hermione looked at her in surprise. Hello, Larry. They do not know how to animal talk and cannot communicate directly with unicorns. Larry walked up to them and nuzzled them with his head in a friendly gesture. So, how did you get them here? Siri asked. Of course it's to avoid the basilisk. Hermione has told you about the basilisk and the Chamber of Secrets before. Basilisk, Zilly nodded. I didn't expect there to be such a powerful creature in this world, at least the deer-headed spirit, can't compare to it. Who says it's not? Levin agreed, that's why I specially prepared this trump card. So what are you going to transform into this time? Hermione was also very curious, she had never heard that one person could have multiple animagus transformations. But the fact that Levin has a magical animagus is outrageous. After the chimera transforms, it can also adjust the chimera factor. One transformation is equivalent to 5 transformations, which is even more exaggerated. By now, Levin said that he could have multiple animagus, and Hermione was no longer surprised. But she still wants to know what kind of animal transformation can be used by Levin as a means to fight against the basilisk. Of course, Jiang. Eternal Owl's Wisdom Elixir, Quetzalcoatl transformation. Levin showed the crystal bottle in his hand. Quat Serpent. For surely, this is another unfamiliar name. Hermione tried to search her memory. I seem to have heard of this name. It's the name of a god of the Mayans in South America, right? You are talking about the feathered serpent god Kukulkan, also known as Quetzalcoatl. He is indeed a god believed by the Mayans and Aztecs. He is generally depicted as 10 feathers. Levin introduced, there may not really be such a god in the history of South America, but creatures like the feathered serpent do exist. Perhaps Kukulkan was the imagination of the Mayans after seeing the feathered serpent. The Quetzalcoatl is a powerful magical creature. They are naturally kind. Their wisdom and beauty are admired and respected. The Quetzalcoatl tries to lead mortals to the right path and uses their power stars to fight against evil. Therefore, they may indeed have been as a patron saint, he protected the Mayan and Aztec ancestors. Zhaos, Quat serpents are guardians of good. They are born unable to lie but can refuse to reveal information, provide ambiguous answers, or lead others to wrong conclusions, if this is necessary to protect something. Maintain a promise or cover up a secret. Quad serpents can survive for centuries without eating or drinking, and can even survive in an airless environment. But these creatures can still die from disease or the passage of time. The mating ritual is a colorful dance of light and magic. A gem-shaped egg will be born from which a new coatl will hatch. In short, according to various records, the feathered serpent carries the power of good and possesses a certain degree of divinity. It happens to be the nemesis of the evil basilisk. If it is a feathered serpent, it may be able to resist the death gaze of the basilisk. Looking at the sky, Levin stood in the center of the ceremony. I actually ordered an excavated feathered serpent feather long ago, but it didn't arrive until today. After I complete my transformation, we will return to Hogwarts together to completely eliminate the threat of the basilisk. Pictured is a feathered snake. Chapter 143. The moon rises extra early today. As the moonlight reached its peak and shone on Levin, Levin drank the eternal owl's wisdom elixir made from the feathers of the Quetzalcoatl. Because I had gone through a ritual, this transformation was less painful. Soon, Levin transformed into a feathered snake with a length of 5.6 meters and a wingspan of 4.5 meters. In the form of a feathered serpent, Levin has a dragon-like head, a pair of huge wings on his back, and the feathers on his body are mostly blue, green, and purple. There are long red feathers on his head and the ends of his wings, which look bright and beautiful. There are no feathers on the abdomen, replaced by golden scales. Levin could feel that the feathered serpent was naturally shielded from psychic detection, and his psychic abilities were greatly enhanced in the form of the feathered serpent. The feathered serpent's eyes have true vision, and can see through invisibility, illusions, and hidden magical powers just like mastering the art of true seeing. At the same time, he has also mastered the ability to use divine power and perform divine spells. As his abilities increase, he can even learn divine spells like a warlock learning arcane magic. However, similar to the druid's natural spells, the power of this divine spell comes from a wide range of good forces and does not involve specific gods. At the same time, the Quetzalcoatl itself also has good melee capabilities. His melee attacks are equipped with magic power and he has poisonous fangs. He has lightning-fast reflex nerve feathers and scales hidden under the feathers that can withstand most ordinary melee attacks. Wilderness transformation. Feathered serpent strength, 18, agility, 20, 657 constitution, 18, intelligence, 18, perception, 22, charisma, 17 abilities, intermediate magic resistance, poison, constriction, psychic immunity, lightning reflexes, divine spellcaster, magic weapon, true sight, spell empowerment spells, level 0, stun, strike undead, light, freeze ray, read magic, increase resistance level 1, tolerate the environment, mage armor, hidden mist, protection from evil, defeat enemy. Initiative, blessing, detect alignment, constant, shelter, shield level 2, cure moderate wounds, majesty of the eagle, searing ray, silence, detect thoughts, constant, lesser restoration, healing, protection from poison, invisibility, constant, level 3, gaseous body, anti-evil magic circle, level 3 monster summoning, food creation, cloak of courage level 4, charm monsters, free movement level 5, advanced restoration, detection and dreaming 6th ring, medical skills, crown of glory level 7. Transformed spirit body, constant, overall, the Quetzalcoatl is worse than the Chimera in terms of pure melee combat ability. However, the Quetzalcoatl has a powerful spell casting ability. Although it still cannot use the wizard's spells, it has a set of magical magic tables. Although the spells in it are not lethal enough, they have strong healing ability and functionality, and are very effective against evil. Existence is very repressive. If placed in D&D and World of Warcraft, Levin can completely transform from a net master to a priest by transforming. Because you transformed into a feathered serpent, you understand the powerful heart, CGBF, spirit template of the feathered serpent, and you have some understanding of the power of the soul. Your Psion level +1, you gain the ability Psychic Immunity after feeling the power of the feathered serpent. Levin felt very satisfied. The feathered serpent form completes the vacant priest position in Levin's skill tree and can heal and exorcise evil. And the feathered serpent's ability is indeed very capable of restraining the basilisk. Its super perceptive ability completely restrains the evil eye of the basilisk, and the evil suppression of its divine power is specifically targeted at the basilisk. It seems that we are safe against the basilisk this time. Levin, who transformed into a feathered serpent, basically didn't need to adapt to it, and he could master its movement method skillfully. This depends on what he has already experienced when the Chimera transformed into the eagle and snake forms. I saw Levin waving his wings and flying happily in a circle above the tower. The girls and the unicorns looked at the sacred creatures flying overhead, and inexplicably felt a kind of sacred solemnity, as well as the beauty and joy brought by beauty and kindness. As a divine creature, the feathered serpent has unknowingly affected surrounding creatures. Soon, Levin fell to the ground and Hermione and Siri rushed forward to stroke his beautiful feathers and glorious scales. Touching you like this is really like touching a god. Hermione expressed her feelings in a dazed tone. If this were my hometown, you could be a god and recruit followers. Siri commented. Since the place name was not mentioned directly, Hermione was not surprised by Siri's words. She always thought that Zilly's hometown was a remote village in Eastern Europe far away from civilization. Levin gently lowered his head, pulled out a few purple feathers from his body, blessed them, and gave one to each of them. This is the special ability of the feathered snake. This kind of blessed feather can bring peace of mind when worn on the body, and it also has the ability to drive away evil creatures. If you are a spellcaster, you can use this feather to cast Alien Covenant to summon Levin in the form of a feathered serpent. Is this, for me? Hermione pinned the feather to her purse buckle in surprise. Siri tied it to the hilt of the arcane sword. After a little experience with the Coetal's abilities, Levin returned to his original state. Next, let's go back to Hogwarts and set out to find the basilisk and its owner. Levin announced loudly. Give it to me. The two women responded one after another. Levin grabbed a few more roosters from the chicken coop in the tower and stuffed them into his bag. Then he cancelled the mansion technique and took the two of them back to the castle. However, when they returned to the castle, they found that the entire northwest of Shangxi, no, the entire Hogwarts was in chaos. Professor McGonagall's voice echoed in the corridor, amplified many times by magic. All students returned to their respective college dormitories immediately. All teachers returned to the staff lounge. Please act immediately. The little wizards were in a mess, running around, and all kinds of rumors were endless. Some people say that another little wizard was killed, and this time it was not petrification, but real death. Some people also say that the monster in the secret room finally came out and is now fighting the professors. Their reactions varied. Some rushed to the lounge obediently, some shivered in a corner, some tried to leave the castle, and some even cried and called their mother. The prefects of the college and the president of the student union have no control at all. Seeing the little wizards behaving like this, Cohen couldn't stand it at all. He found an invisible corner, immediately transformed into a feathered serpent, immediately activated the Cloak of Courage, and then used the invisibility technique. Cloak of Courage, 3-ring protective magic, allowing all teammates in the area, including you, to gain resistance to fear. Immediately afterwards, he jumped into the air and flew around the entire castle. The sacred aura of the feathered serpent and the encouragement of the Cloak of Courage immediately calmed down the panicked little wizards. Then, Levin returned to his human form, but the Cloak of Courage that lasted did not disappear. He just walked to the auditorium where there were most young wizards, used phantom sound technique, and then his voice expanded, "Everyone, please calm down." Levin's voice, accompanied by the power of the mind and the Cloak of Courage, sounded like muffled thunder in the auditorium. The little wizard recognized the source of the voice as Levin Green. That boy was a Ravenclaw genius and had defeated a chimera. They had already been comforted by the feathered snake, and with Levin's voice, they immediately calmed down. Levin's accumulated prestige came into play at this time. "Everyone, please follow the professor's instructions and follow your superiors back to the lounge in an orderly manner. You must completely trust the professor and the school. Trust me. After this period of investigation, I have mastered the secrets about the secret room and roughly found out the identity of the heir. I will work with the professors. Let's solve this problem together. Believe me, the monster that attacked the wizard will not be rampant again." In order to quickly appease his classmates, Levin chose to put his own credibility on the line. This choice is actually very dangerous, almost like gambling. If Levin can't solve the problem, his reputation will take a big hit. But once he really solves the problem, then his prestige among the little wizards will be comparable to that of the wizards. This is the first step for Levin to officially begin to develop his own influence. Everyone, don't worry, students, don't panic. Remember, you are wizards, hold on to your wands. The threat will be over soon. Under Levin's comfort, the little wizards all chose to obey. They began to stop panicking and began to cooperate with the command. So, the prefects took the opportunity to organize a team and took the little wizards to the major lounges. The three Levins walked straight towards the staff lounge. Chapter 144. Something happened again. In the staff lounge, Professor McGonagall said to the other silent teachers, 2 students were kidnapped by monsters and taken directly into the secret room. Professor Flitwick let out a scream, and Professor Sprout suddenly covered his mouth with both hands. Snape grabbed the back of a chair tightly and asked, "How can you be sure?" "The heirs of Slytherin," said Professor McGonagall, who looked very pale, left another line of words. Just below the last words, it said that their bones will remain in the secret chamber forever. "Super who?" Professor Flitwick asked. Professor McGonagall opened his mouth and said 2 names dryly, Ronald Weasley, and Harry Potter. Hearing a thud sound, Snape stood up suddenly and seemed to want to rush out of the classroom immediately, but was firmly held back by Professor McGonagall. "Don't be impulsive, Severus. We must act cautiously in this situation. The most important thing is not to let the situation worsen." 11 Snape glared at her fiercely, as if he wanted to eat her alive. But he honestly stopped. So Professor McGonagall started arranging. "Severus, I want you to activate the school's defensive magic. Phileas, please patrol the common rooms to ensure the safety of the students. I have to find a way to open the principal's office and contact Dumbledore." Professor McGonagall's voice was trembling, and she was trying her best to stay calm. In decades, the school has never been in such a crisis situation. Moreover, Spirit and Bulido are not here either. If not handled properly, Hogwarts may be closed down. Suddenly, the door to the staff lounge was slammed open again. Lockhart, dressed in fancy clothes and arriving belatedly, arrived, smiling and boasting as he walked. "Don't worry, dear friends, I already have a clue, but I can't tell you yet. It won't take long for me to find the secret room." Then he saw the professors looking at him with evil eyes. Lockhart immediately changed his tune. "Well, I mean it won't be long, but we haven't found it yet. Professor McGonagall hates the guy who comes to cause trouble at this critical moment. All the students have disappeared, and you are still trying to show off." "That's just right. Professor Lockhart, our tasks here have been arranged. As for you, tonight is a perfect opportunity for you to show off your skills. We promise not to let anyone hinder you. You can be alone." Go deal with that monster. With that said, the professors left in a hurry. Lockhart was horrified by the professor's words. He knew his own family affairs and knew very well that he did not have the means to deal with monsters. What can we do? We can only run away. Lockhart was just about to go out when he happened to bump into Yevhen Sanking pushing the door open. Sure enough, Professor Lockhart is here. Levin's eyes lit up when he saw him, and he immediately showed the expression of an admirer seeing his idol. In fact, he was not prepared to go to the professor to solve the problem at all. If he had to, he would only go to Lockhart. This annoying guy is actually the best human shield. He has endured the other party's harassment and attention for a semester, and now it is time to take revenge. Professor, good news, we have found the entrance to the secret room, and we just need you to lead the team so that we can rescue people. Oh, the entrance to the secret room, yes, the secret room, well, but I have my own plans, so I can't alert others yet. Lockhart hesitated, talking about him. Seeing that he didn't respond, Levin encouraged, Professor, you are the famous Gilderoy Lockhart, the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. You have written so many amazing books, and now is the time for you to save the world just like in the books. If you can succeed, rescue Harry and Ronald from the Chamber of Secrets, and you will become the greatest professor at Hogwarts. The Ministry of Magic will award you a Lord Merlin Regimental First Class Medal. No one noticed that his words already contained powerful spiritual power. After listening to Levin's words, Lockhart was indeed tempted for a moment, but he was too clear about his own strength. Even Dumbledore was inaccurate, he could only go far when he went there. Okay. Mr. Green, I won't hide you anymore, my books are deceiving. Lockhart complained loudly. I can't go to the damn secret room. I don't know that at all. Let us. The contents of those books are all I cheated, sneak attacks, replaced others' meal, put on my own name. Lockhart's complaints are getting bigger and bigger. I returned to school to be a professor. I originally thought that I could establish a teacher-student friendship with Harry Potter. You are a lucky little ghost. But why do you have to appear in my term? This should not be my handling of affairs. So, don't you plan to go to the secret room with us, right? Levin asked. I won't go, Green. Lockhart's hand touched his waist without trace. He has seen the strength of the three little wizards in front of the duel club. Levin Green can suppress the powerful Snape. Please give me flowers. Hermione is spiked any little witch on the same age. Harry even needs to subdue a wizard with a wand. He didn't want to face them. Unfortunately, just now, he was excited for a while and burst out the biggest secret. He hasn't found out what is going on. So I have to do it. But it doesn't matter, he is very confident in his forgetting curse. As long as they suddenly attacked, forgetting the curse to make them forget everything they had happened today. To make up his mind, he pulled out the wand instantly, forget all empty. He read the curse loudly, but the sudden stagnation of the magical power made him almost out. His forgotten mantra was countered. Don't wait for Lockhart to do something, another curse hit his head. 0. Lockhart fainted on the spot. Tie him up. Levin ordered, then grab me, let's take you into the secret room together. Hermione waved his activation rope, and then Lockhart's clothes tied him himself. Then she grabbed Lockhart's hair in one hand and put on Levin with one hand. Hilly also took out a long sword and grabbed Levin's hand. Levin applied high stealth for several people, and then began to feel the location of Harry's body. Before he left Harry's amulet, he judged this result in advance. With Voldemort's personality, the host was directly looking for the door, and he had the probability that he would choose to counsel a wave, eliminate Ronald's memory, and lurk himself again, and wait for the opportunity. But it may not be directly acting, and the tomb. If it is the latter possibility, then Harry will be taken to the secret room. But Levin is not worried about his life, in his identity, he couldn't kill him because of his surrounds. And as long as he obeys Levin's suggestion well, as long as he enters the secret room, Levin's amulet will be brought in, and that amulet is a version made by Levin himself, with transmitting rune of Levin engraved on it. In addition, some special little magic were applied above, which gave it some additional functions. As long as the amulet enters the dense room, it means that he gets the coordinates of the secret room. In this way, he didn't need to hissing at the faucet at all, and he could also enter the secret room. Sure enough, it didn't take long for Yevhen to show a smile. Find you, under the back room. Chapter 145. After a period of dizziness, Levin found himself in a strange room. The space here is huge and dimly lit. Under the illumination of a few dim flames on the wall, Levin can see stone pillars surrounded by serpent statues, towering up to support the ceiling in the darkness. Right in front is a statue dozens of meters high. The statue has an old, monkey-like face, a long sparse beard that almost reaches the hem of the wizard's robe carved in stone, and two large grey feet standing on the smooth floor of the room. That's a Slytherin statue. In front of the statue, a battle between magical creatures is going on. No, that was no longer a war, but a unilateral pursuit. It was a huge snake-like creature that was chasing a big red bird. Beside the snake, a translucent ghost-like figure was crossing his arms and watching the scene in front of him with interest. Levin recognized the bird at a glance as Dumbledore's Phoenix 07. The big snake is naturally the basilisk in the secret room. And the translucent man watching the battle was, of course, the heir to the Chamber of Secrets, Tom Riddle back then. It seems that the Phoenix is a flexible and can fly, and has a huge advantage against the basilisk on the ground. As long as you are careful, the basilisk can only be attacked unilaterally. But that's not actually the case. Although the basilisk cannot fly, its body is huge, dozens of meters long. Even if it is hit by the phoenix a few times, it is not a serious injury. Although the phoenix is a flexible, it is relatively small. If it is bitten, it will be seriously injured. Dumbledore's phoenix is a indeed brave. Even if he fights alone, he still bravely fights the basilisk. But at this time, it was scarred and could no longer hold on for long. So, what about Phoenix's teammates? Its unlucky teammate is lying at Levin's feet. Levin looked down and saw two corpses lying at his feet. It was the two missing little wizards, Harry Potter and his best friend, Ronald Weasley. In the Harry figure, it is a thick diary, stabbed by a silver sword. Not far away, the sorting hat lay softly. In fact, Levin could feel that they were still alive, but in a very bad state. Even though all body functions are present, he looks very weak and unconscious. It was as if he was in shock. By Harry's side, seeing this sight, Hermione almost screamed, but she immediately covered her mouth. What is happening here? Why are they both lying here? Why are the diaries punctured? Seeing that the phoenix was in danger, Levin remained calm. He leaned down and found his own protective shield from Harry's body. The boy knew very well that no matter what kind of battle it was, the most important thing was intelligence. As his hand grasped the amulet, Levin's additional magic on the amulet activated. A recording passed from the amulet to Levin's mind. This is the magic left by Levin on the amulet, which can record what happens near the amulet. In the record, he saw Harry saying goodbye to himself and Hermione, heading to the lounge, and questioning Ronald. Under Harry's questioning, Ronald suddenly realized and revealed the truth that he seemed to be controlled by a diary, and even mentioned that a senior named Tom Riddle in the diary had been secretly influencing him. But before he could explain everything clearly, a phantom appeared from Ronald, knocked Harry unconscious, and controlled Ronald to take Harry to the abandoned bathroom. Seeing the phantom hissing in snake language, he opened the mechanism and led the two of them into the secret room. After a long time, Harry woke up and found Ronald lying next to him. Ronald. Harry hurried to his side and knelt down. Ronald. What's wrong with you? Please, don't die. Looking at his companions in front of him, Harry shouted sadly. By the way, artificial respiration. Harry recalled the first aid skills taught in Muggle classes in primary school. He took a deep breath, lowered his head, aimed his mouth at Ronald's, and spat into it. Before I could finish spitting out a mouthful of water, a strange voice sounded. I didn't expect you to have such a hobby, Harry Potter. The voice was full of disgust and contempt. Your relationship is closer than I imagined. Harry was shocked, and when he raised his head, he realized that the man who knocked him out was here, looking through a diary. Who are you? Harry asked. My name is Tom Riddle, and I am also a student at Hogwarts. The boy closed the diary. Tom Riddle, you are the owner of Ronald's diary. Harry asked in surprise, what did you do to Ronald? Ah, Ronald is a good boy. He gave me too much vitality, but left not much for himself. Riddle said slowly. Listening to Riddle's words, Harry seemed to understand the other party's hidden meaning. He was a little unbelievable. You mean, Ronald is about to die? Not entirely. The translucent figure shook his head. Not exactly. What do you mean? Harry asked loudly. That means, whether Ronald is dead or alive, depends on your next actions. Harry struggled to understand. Action, what do you want me to do? I summoned you, and naturally you have your mission. Then why did you bring me and Ronald to the secret room? Harry took a step back and tightened the wand in his hand. If you want to hurt your classmates at Hogwarts, then you are dreaming. I won't cooperate with you, a murderer. Ah, the secret room, the murderer, it seems you know more than I thought. Tom looked very surprised. Your wisdom is beyond my imagination, Harry. It seems that you have investigated a lot of facts. But don't worry, Harry, if I tried to hurt you, you wouldn't wake up. The reason why I brought you here is because you are the only one I need. Harry was not honored. He felt nothing but hatred for this guy who manipulated Ronald, hurt his classmates, and put him on the receiving end of countless scapegoats. He said coldly, I'm sorry, you must have chosen the wrong person. I won't cooperate with you. You still don't understand, my silly Potter. Riddle shook his head and smiled broadly. I didn't choose you, but Ronald Weasley. It was him who made me choose you. I don't believe Ronald wouldn't harm me. Harry's voice was decisive. Stupid Potter is still defending his good friend. At this point, Tom's smile grew stronger. It's a pity that when your good friend told me almost everything about you, he told me everything. Hearing this, Harry couldn't help but feel a sting in his heart. You murderer, if you dare to hurt Ronald in any way. Hurt? Tom Riddle seemed amused. I did take some things from him, but like I said before, everything was given to me on his own initiative. Hearing this, Harry's voice couldn't help but trembled. So, what exactly did you take from Ronald? Oh, this is an interesting topic. Shui Ying's tone was very cheerful, as if he was talking about his proud achievements. It's a long story, let's start from the beginning. In fact, Ronald was not the first person I traded with. In fact, my first partner was his sister, Ginny. That little girl was quite easy to understand. She completely opened her heart to me in just 1 month and provided me with her first life force. But there was only one thing that annoyed me. She was useless and was trying to complete me. I was actually discovered during the assigned task. Although I don't know who discovered her, I had not yet recovered my strength at that time, so I carefully chose to change my master. Why, I started to consider candidates from the people around her, and then I found that her brother, Ronald Weasley, was a good target, far more than little Ginny. So, I chose him. Chapter 146. Tom Riddle talked to Harry as if he were talking about his greatest achievements. I left Ginny, erased her memory, and came to be with his brother. Then I discovered that little Ronald was easier to control than her. He had more troubles than she did, so he kept writing his innermost thoughts in his diary and told me everything he wanted to complain about. Poor family, 5 good brothers, never need anything new, Bill's old robes, Charlie's old wand, Percy throw away the unwanted mice. There is also the annoying Malfoy, the enviable Levin Green, the domineering Granger, and his best friend, the great hero Harry Potter. Riddle revealed Ronald's innermost thoughts without any concealment. If Ronald woke up, he would probably dig a hole and bury himself. But Tom's complaint is not over yet, as there seems to be a lot of things that he doesn't want to complain about, this idiot. Why does he have so many worries and low self-esteem? He is indeed an idiot. He wants to be in the limelight, get good grades, and be as noticed as you. But he can't learn the magic I taught him, and he can't read the first book in a month. Book. Counting his galleons all day long. But I patiently pretended to be a close brother, listened to a 12-year-old wizard talk about his childish worries, and even helped him with his homework. You know, when I was 12 years old, I had already gathered a group of friends, secretly learned the knowledge of the Forbidden Book area, and even began to think about how to conquer death. Riddle let out a cold, harsh laugh that didn't sound like it came from a 16-year-old child. This made the hairs on the back of Harry's neck stand up. I am not bragging, Harry, I have always been able to charm people at will. So, Ronald opened her whole soul to me, and his life and soul happened to be exactly what I needed, that's what I took from him. Of course, a good person like me never asks for anything unilaterally, Reader added, so I also helped Ronald do a lot of things. What did Ronald make you do? Harry asked, feeling his throat burning with dryness. Can't you guess, Harry Potter? Riddle said softly. Except for that stupid cat, all the people who were attacked did so out of his will. That's impossible. Harry retorted loudly, Ronald would never be such a person. No, it's possible. Riddle smiled more and more proudly, Ronald hates that mudblood Colin. He takes pictures of you with a camera all day long and affects your daily life, so I attacked Colin. What about Justin? He has nothing to do with Ronald. Justin, that ungrateful fellow, you showed great mercy and used the power given by Slytherin to help him, but he in turn repaid you with kindness. How could I let him go? As for Malfoy, who is the thorn in your side, why don't you even think about it? Not to mention that he is scolding you behind your back. For you, I have to personally remove the descendants of my followers, it is really selfless, isn't it? Hearing him talk about this, Harry immediately recalled the time when they drank Polyjuice potion to trick Malfoy, and had to curse himself in the end to agree with him. No, Marietta too. He must have nothing to do with me and Ronald. Harry defended weakly. Yes. Riddle smiled with satisfaction, but this lady is purely Lockhart's scapegoat. Ronald told me more than once that you hate that liar Lockhart. Having said this, Riddle showed a malicious smile, look, in these 4 attacks, I was following Ronald's orders. This is the reward I gave him. And the reason why he did this is all for you, Harry. Even I am moved by his deep friendship for you. Ronald wouldn't attack them. Harry retorted angrily. Yeah, of course this idiot doesn't have the guts to do these things, he only dares to write on the pen, Riddle nodded in agreement. And I don't need him to know. He thought he was just venting his emotions in the diary, and I turned the verbal excitement in these pens into the attacks I wanted. Is this how you fulfill other people's wishes? This is exactly like the Black Holy Grail. But, you didn't kill anyone, Harry said with some pride, you managed to kill a Myrtle in the last attack, but this time, you are alone. Not even a cat was killed. Soon the mandrake will mature, and those who were petrified will come back to life. But Riddle was not irritated. He just said softly, didn't I tell you just now? It doesn't matter whether they die or not. What matters is you. I said it from the beginning, I brought you here because of course I need you. I want you to help me take the final step away from the confines of this diary. I won't do anything for you. Harry looked at him fearlessly. Oh, that's really pitiful, Riddle shook his head, I mean little Ronald. Think about it, Ronald trusted his beloved Harry so much that he would rather bear 4 lives for you, but in the end, because of Harry's uncooperation. Riddle said nothing, but Harry knew what he wanted to say. You're so mean. Harry was furious, his fists still clenched tightly. Despicable. Riddle was stunned. He seemed to have heard something ridiculous, you actually called your enemy despicable? Isn't it natural to be despicable to your enemies? What did Dumbledore teach you? He wants to train you. Become a saint. Harry took a deep breath, of course I can help you, but Ronald must be released first. Otherwise, I would rather die with you. Hearing this, Riddle looked at Harry with admiration, it seems that Ronald is indeed your best friend, right? You may have noticed that my current state is different from ordinary people. I am just a memory, a broken soul, which has to be attached to the diary. If I want to be completely resurrected, I need to sacrifice a sacrifice and transfer my soul release from the diary. So, are you willing to become this sacrifice instead of Ronald Weasley? Riddle's tone did not contain any threat, he just looked at him with an intriguing look. Think carefully, this is the most important decision in your life. Once you make a choice, you can't look back. So ask yourself honestly, would you give it all for Ronald Weasley? At this moment, Harry remembered a lot, how he met Ronald on the train, and the adventures they had together in first grade. Thinking of Ronald driving a car and the magic weapon descending from the sky, rescuing him from the Dursleys, thinking of them riding in a car to Hogwarts together, they study together, play together, eat together, and live together. Ronald was indeed his best friend. I will. Harry squeezed 3 words from his throat, each word seemed to weigh as much as 1,000 pounds. At that moment, he seemed to feel that he had established an inexplicable connection with the Ronald in front of him. They seemed closer. But before Harry could indulge in this beautiful fantasy, a proud smile appeared on the face of Tom Riddle in front of him. Just then, the sound of music came from somewhere. Riddle turned around suddenly and looked at the empty secret room. The music was getting louder and louder. The sound was ethereal, and mysterious, and it was exciting to hear it. It made the hair on Harry's scalp stand up and caused his atria to swell to twice their original size. The music got louder and louder, until Harry felt it was vibrating inside his chest. At this moment, flames suddenly burst out from the top of the nearest stone pillar. Suddenly a crimson bird, as big as a crane, descended from the sky and played its strange music on the vaulted ceiling. It has a shining golden tail, as long as a peacock's tail, and a pair of shining golden claws, holding a tattered package on its claws. A second later, the big bird flew straight towards Harry. It threw the tattered thing on its paw at Harry's feet, then rested heavily on Harry's shoulder, pressing warmly against Harry's cheek, looking at Riddle firmly. It's a phoenix. Riddle stared at it equally viciously. That thing. Riddle turned his attention to the tattered thing that Fox just threw down. It's the school's broken sorting hat. Riddle laughed wildly. That's what Dumbledore gave his protector. A singing bird and an old hat. Harry Potter, do you feel brave? Do you feel safe? Harry grabbed the hat and flicked it onto his head. Help me, Harry thought, his eyes squeezed beneath his hat, please help me. But the sorting hat didn't answer him. On the contrary, the hat became tighter and tighter, as if an invisible hand was desperately trying to tighten it. Boom. Something very hard and heavy fell on the top of Harry's head, almost knocking him unconscious. He grabbed the top of the hat and tried to take it off, but he felt a long, hard thing underneath the hat. A shining silver sword appeared in the hat, with a dazzling egg-sized ruby a euro inlaid on the hilt. At this moment, Fox suddenly spread its wings and flew. It flapped its wings quickly and hovered above the two people's heads. Then, something fell on Harry's lap, the same thing that was there today. Without thinking or hesitating, Harry grabbed the Gryffindor sword and pointed it at the diary. Let Ronald go, he shouted loudly, I know that your identity is hidden in this diary. In this case, if I destroy this diary, you will die, right? So, if you don't want to disappear, just let Ronald go. Snap. After hearing what Harry said, Riddle applauded in the secret room. Yes, Harry, you are indeed a very good student. You have learned my methods so quickly, the despicable methods in your mouth. This may be the reason why you use parcel tongue. Look, Harry, you actually looks a lot like 317 to me, doesn't it? I have to say, you do fit in as a Slytherin. Riddle talked him around, but Harry never forgot business. Don't say those useless things, Riddle, let Ronald go, otherwise you know the consequences. He stared closely into the other person's eyes, trying to see something, but there was only indifference in Riddle's eyes. Unfortunately, I want to remind you one thing, that is, not all methods can be imitated by you, the translucent wizard showed a sneer. Not everyone can be threatened by you. So, just destroy the diary. Harry. Stick your sword in. Riddle's reply made Harry's eyes widen. Why, is this guy so tough? He makes it seem like I am the villain. You have to think clearly, I have the diary in my hand. Harry threatened in a louder voice. But again there was only louder laughter. Then stab it, if it goes in, I'll die. You won't dare, right? Or are you unwilling to murder a strange soul, even if it mutilates your best friend and attacks your classmates? Harry's eyes slowly raised to meet Riddle's smiling face. Do you think I will hesitate? No, you murderer of Ronald. Harry's voice was full of hatred. He raised Gryffindor's sword and stabbed it downwards. With a terrifying, prolonged, eardrum-piercing scream, streams of ink spurted out from the diary, dripping down Harry's hands and onto the ground. Riddle's body twisted and began to blur, but Harry noticed that before he disappeared, there was a look of pleasure on his face. With a snap, Harry's wand fell to the ground, and everything fell silent except for the sound of ink still dripping from the diary. Harry wanted to pick up the wand, but as soon as he took a step, he found that his body became inexplicably weak. Just this step has exhausted all my energy. At the same time, the spirit began to weaken. Harry could see only darkness. At this time, a familiar voice sounded in my ears. Thank you, Harry Potter, for freeing me from the diary once and for all. In front of him where he couldn't see, Tom Riddle's figure reappeared. Updated 5/4, as updated, 30/601. It's not easy to get a new book on the shelves. I'd like to ask for a wave of custom orders, a wave of flowers, monthly votes, reviews, and rewards. If you have votes, please give them to me, the author. This is really important to me. Chapter 147. After Tom Riddle reappears and Harry loses consciousness, the only record left is the scene of Tom summoning the basilisk to fight the phoenix. After reading this record, Levin roughly understood the changes in the plot. It all started when he discovered that Ginny had killed the chicken. Although Levin stopped Ginny with a sneak attack, not only did he not show his face, but Ginny may not even find out that she was attacked. But Tom Riddle was cautious enough. He noticed something was wrong and chose to avoid it. Then came the series of things that followed. The only thing Levin can't understand is Tom Riddle's final resurrection. Even though the diary was destroyed, he was able to be reborn. In other words, he was actually provoking Harry throughout the whole process, as if he wanted him to destroy the diary. There must be a reason for wearing leather trousers and cotton trousers. Levin also wanted to know what was going on. Now that we understand what happened before, it's time to face Tom Riddle and his basilisk. Considering the danger of the basilisk, Levin whispered to the two that it was time to cover their eyes. Don't worry, even if you are blindfolded, I can still make you see everything around you. After both of them put on the blindfold, Levin also closed his eyes, and with a thought, he cast his psychic power, Sensory Link. Hermione and Siri suddenly discovered that they had another field of vision before them. Everything seen in this field of vision is slightly different from normal vision. In addition to normal scenes, you can also perceive the detailed outlines of surrounding objects, even in blind spots that cannot be seen with normal vision. This is... Levin, is it you? Hermione asked quietly. That's right, I just linked your senses with mine, and what you see now is my psychic detection vision. Relying on this, they can fight the basilisk without making eye contact with it. After preparations were completed, Levin waved his hand to cancel the concealment. Both sides of the battle suddenly discovered that there was someone else in the secret room. The badly beaten phoenix fox seemed to have seen a relative, fluttering its wings and flew behind Levin. Looking at its scarred appearance, Levin had no doubt that if he had been a little later, Fox would have died on the spot. Tom Riddle also saw the three people who suddenly appeared. He looked at them intently for a while and suddenly smiled. The basilisk raised its head and wanted to kill the three of them, but he raised his hand to stop it. You are Levin Green, and his followers Hermione Granger, and Cyril Lillian, right? You are indeed here. It was said that there were three people, but the only one Riddle was looking at was Levin. I have always wondered why Harry Potter was the only one who discovered the truth. This is too inconsistent with the level that little Ronald said you have. Now it seems that Harry Potter is just the bait you put out to test, otherwise you would not have been able to jump over it. The agency suddenly appeared here. As expected of Tom Riddle, the mysterious man in the past tried to sow discord as soon as they met. But neither Hermione nor Siri said a word, leaving everything to the boy in front of them. They have considerable trust. Levin squinted his eyes and looked at the young man. Are you the real culprit who seduced Ronald to open the secret room? What are you? A magic prop? Or a ghost? No, ghosts cannot use magic and cannot control the basilisk. Who are you? He asked, pretending not to know. But Riddle ignored his question. Want to hear how I do this? Riddle played with the wand with both hands and said in an arrogant tone, I have spent so much effort and time to fulfill my long-cherished wish, but without the audience to appreciate it, I will feel very boring. You, Levin Green, according to Ronald's memory, you are the only one worthy of being my audience. What is this? 650 Listen to my revenge plan? As expected of Voldemort, he goes against the wind and rides the waves, and when he feels that he has the upper hand, he starts to show off. But Levin also really wants to find out what new fun the child version of Voldemort in this world has given him. So he nodded cheerfully. Of course, I can't wait. As he spoke, he tapped the floor with his wand, used the transformation technique to conjure a sofa and coffee table out of thin air, and took the two women to sit directly on the sofa. But before that, you don't mind if I prepare some snacks co-AA with ring above 11 EAOEA 3/4 AE plus or minus A superscript 1 AE superscript 1 AE A 1/2 AE per thousand AA with ring above A 1/2 OEA AEA. AOEA E, EE 3/4 EAOE degree A plus or minus AOE, EOE cent A degree A euro AEA yen A degree AEA E superscript 3 A degree A. C degree cent EOE. A per thousand E per thousand superscript 2 AEA E superscript 2 trademark A yen EAOE, AE 3/4 AOEA A degree cent A per thousand. C superscript 3 Don T forget to give Riddle a copy. Regardless of his state as a spiritual body, he was unable to drink tea or snacks. V3. The way the three of them prepared tea as if no one was around drove him crazy. Unfortunately, he had just promised to tell a story, and now he was unwilling to lift the table and slap himself in the face. I had no choice but to suppress my anger and watch the other party leisurely drink tea and listen to stories to show my grace. Little did he know that this suppressed emotion was completely felt by Levin. Hey, if you want to compete with us in showing off, you're still far behind. After taking the first sip of tea, Levin stretched out his hand. Come on, young man, tell your story. Damn it, just let you live a little longer. Tom Riddle held back his anger and recounted his most proud plan. EA, AEA, EE, A 1/2 A superscript 1 AEAOE per thousand A 3/4 AE pound A euro AEA superscript 1 E 1/4 E, A superscript 1 Ya. AEA euro A superscript 20 AE superscript 3 EA, A euro AEA. A degree AE plus or minus A dot EOEA 3/4 A degree, AEA euro A 1/2. A 1/4 AAOEA degree A superscript 1 AEOIA 3/4 euro A euro C per thousand CEC cent per thousand A euro. He locked me away forever in a diary. AE plus or minus A dot EOEA 3/4 A degree, AEAE trademark AA. A, AAE 3/4 CA 3/4 EOE. AE 1/4 AE superscript 2 C per thousand superscript 1 AE registered trademark co-registered trademark A yen, AEAE 3/4 AOEA yen AEA registered trademark EE, A with ring above yen A 1/2 AEA CEC cent per thousand. Hermionic A degree A plus or minus A degree E pound message, showing a surprised expression E trademark A euro A degree E registered trademark copyright EOEA 3/4 A degree A. A comma E superscript 3 A degree C A degree A per thousand. AE trademark AE euro A 1/2 degree AOE comma AE. AE degree A. AE comma AE with diaresis degree E superscript 3 A yen AE per thousand E 1/2 AE trademark C per thousand AE registered trademark CCE AE degree comma C per thousand superscript 1 AE registered trademark E degree A 1/2. If you want to resurrect a soul fragment, it is difficult to say, easy to say, it only takes 2 steps AEC 1/2 A with ring above AE yen AE. AECE A euro C A comma A 1/2 C A euro AE superscript 1 AE superscript 3 comma AE per thousand C AE yen E registered trademark degree AOE AE cent A degree AECE AOE cent AE 3/4 A degree AE yen A euro. What special method? Hermione asked. AE superscript 1 AE superscript 3 A 3/4 A registered trademark superscript 1 AE superscript 3 A degree A euro EOE A 3/4 A degree E 1/2 CE AECAA with ring above superscript 1 AE per thousand. A degree comma AA with diaresis euro A 1/4 euro A degree plus or minus A EOE per thousand E trademark A euro AE superscript 1 AE superscript 3 A degree plus or minus E Ronald 1/2 superscript 3 A degree comma E pound A degree plus or minus A degree E registered trademark degree C A per thousand A euro yen E registered trademark degree AOE C A per thousand E pound A degree plus or minus A superscript 3 C euro A with diaresis 1/2 A euro E A degree AEC AOE degree E registered trademark E cent A euro AE comma A yen superscript 3 A copyright comma A 1/2 A 3/4 A degree E pound AE superscript 3 A euro EA 3/4 AE superscript 2 E trademark comma A yen AEC AE yen E registered trademark degree AOE comma E pound A degree plus or minus A 1/4 A with ring above 1/4 E AEC degree E pound A euro AE per thousand euro A yen AE per thousand. EO euro AE superscript 1 AE superscript 3 comma AOE AE yen E registered trademark degree AOE AEC AE degree AE yen A euro. What's that method? Levin asked. EE trademark A comma EOE A 3/4 A degree EOE superscript 2 A degree A 3/4 AEC A registered trademark superscript 1 Levin E trademark EOE AE per thousand. AEO euro C superscript 2 3/4 A 1/2 copyright AOE degree AE superscript 1 AE registered trademark A degree EAOE per thousand C superscript 1 AE per thousand A euro A superscript 2 A per thousand E per thousand superscript 2 A 1/2 copyright EA yen A 1/2 A comma AEC AE yen A degree Dumbledore AEO euro A 1/4 C trademark 1/2 A comma A euro CEC euro AE registered trademark A with ring above 1/4 EA degree Dumbledore I comma EOE A 3/4 A degree EA degree AA E plus or minus E AEOE per thousand AE AE 11 1/2 A degree OE cent EA euro comma A yen 1/2 A with ring above A. E cent E registered trademark A copyright A superscript 3 AOEC A degree superscript 2 E cent A per thousand. EAEA plus or minus E pound A euro. The relationship between these two people is indeed twisted. E pound A degree plus or minus AE 3/4 C AE degree comma AA comma C plus or minus E AE superscript 3 A euro. The magic of love. AE superscript 2 E trademark EOE 3/4 A degree AE 3/4 AE E pound A euro C. A euro A registered trademark EAE superscript 3 comma A registered trademark euro 1/2 AE per thousand degree C per thousand superscript 2 A plus or minus A degree A pound A comma A degree AE per thousand euro C plus or minus A degree AA with ring above AE 1/4 A registered trademark superscript 3 AE yen A euro EAE copyright C A degree trademark AE superscript 3 comma A copyright C A degree Dumbledore I per thousand euro A comma A 1/4 C plus or minus AOE yen E registered trademark degree AEC A superscript 20 pound comma A degree AEC A degree AE yen A euro AOE 3/4 AOE AE degree A superscript 1 A per thousand. AE 3/4 AOE. A degree Dumbledore I per thousand euro A C plus or minus A yen, EOE 3/4 A degree ACCEA yen comma AC A 3/4 AA with ring above per thousand A registered trademark superscript 3 A degree comma EOE 3/4 EAA registered trademark A 3/4 registered trademark A 3/4 registered trademark AE cent comma A degree plus or minus AA 1/2 AOE per thousand A. AOE 3/4 A degree AOE 3/4 A pound degree AC A euro E trademark C A pound degree AEA degree plus or minus AA 1/2 AEA euro A degree A superscript 1 comma AOE euro C AEA with diaresis degree C A degree superscript 2 comma AEA with diaresis degree A plus or minus A yen A euro E trademark AEA superscript 1 A 11 superscript 3 A degree AOE per thousand A euro A superscript 1 1/2 E registered trademark copyright EOE 3/4 A degree trademark C superscript 1 A degree plus or minus AEA 3/4 A degree A euro. The relationship between these two people is indeed twisted. Chapter 148. So, who puts this magic for you? Seeing that he was so proud, Levin naturally wanted to splash cold water. From my understanding, this powerful magic needs real love. But forgive me, with your current state and personality, it is difficult for me to imagine who will really fall in love with you. You will not be. Where did I lie to a little girl? As if the boy was poked at the deepest weakness, Riddle's voice became sharp. The great Tom Riddle, you don't need this ridiculous feeling. Everything I want. That posture is clearly the incompetence of a little boy who lacks love and good face. Levin almost blurted out, you were in a hurry. He believed that if he came to such a word at this time, the Tom Riddle would rather give up the opportunity to pretend to be, and he would also turn his face with him. But in order to hear the follow-up, the boy still gave up the opportunity to do things. He asked honestly, if there is no other love, how do you do it? Because I used Ronald, I gained his vitality by trading, and at the same time, I was connected with his vitality, and this state lasted for several months. I could have completely plundered his vitality in one go. He gained the ability to exist for a long time outside the diary, leaving only his body behind, but 433 I gave up. I maintained this connection and maintained his most basic life. Because I don't rely on his life to protect me. Of course, this connection is not equal. If someone can destroy the diary at this time, then I will be the one who dies. But the magic of love is another matter. As long as someone can sacrifice his life for Ronald, to protect him, then that magic will be used through my transaction contract with Ronald, and it will also work in on me. And that guy is Harry Potter, that's why I chose him. Potter really lives up to my desires. He does have extraordinary love for Weasley, so tonight, because of some of my little tricks, he voluntarily and Ronald formed this ancient magic of protection. Hey. Although all three of them know that Harry and Ronald have a good relationship, but the relationship is so good that it even creates the magic of love, which always sounds strange. That's it, I used Harry Potter to let him bear the cost of the destruction of my soul for me. After Riddle said that, he finally stood up and put down the teacup he could not drink at all, so the diary was destroyed, but I was not dead. But Harry is not dead. Levin was stunned. Yes, I'm surprised by this, too. Riddle frowned slightly. It's strange, right? It's like he was a baby back then, but he didn't die in my hands in the future. By the way, you don't know my true identity yet. Riddle smiled and waved his wand, drew a few strokes in the air, and wrote 3 shiny names, Tom Marvolo Riddle. Then he waved his wand again, and the letters automatically changed positions. Looking at the stunned expressions of the 2 girls in front of him, Riddle smiled more and more proudly. Yes, I just don't dare to name you, wait. He found that the words in the air were spelled into the sentence Mr. Tom, a fake tinting enthusiast, Mr. Tom, _dildo_lover. Damn, who is it? You're messing around. Riddle's facial features were so angry that he was distorted. If he had a real flesh and blood body, he would have to vomit blood on the spot. You know, since being made into a Horcrux, he has been embarrassed for 50 years. I finally thought of a way to resurrect, absorbing enough emotions and magic, and using Harry to block the knife from the restraint of the diary. After finally encountering the right candidate, you can pretend to be forced in front of them. But just when this is the mysterious identity, when people are in front of people, someone is overcast? He was scolding his mother. God, trademark fake Tintin lovers, your whole family is a enthusiast. The atmosphere at the scene became funny from the original danger and killing. At least Hermione and Siri couldn't hold back their expressions and burst into laughter. Gilderoy Lockhart, who was forcibly knocked unconscious by Levin and brought to the secret room, and who had been shivering in the corner after Sue K woke up, couldn't help laughing. I'll make you laugh. Riddle waved his wand angrily, retreat the enemy from Sanchikang. Bang. Lockhart, who had just woken up, was directly knocked 4 to 5 meters away by this heavy blow. Why hit me? Lockhart shouted as he flew out, then the whole person hit the wall and fainted again. Why else? You are the best among the people present, and you are the one who laughs the loudest. The 3 Levins are all werewolves, and Riddle may not be able to defeat them with one move. Then if I want to vent my anger, I can only find a weakling like you. Then, Riddle looked at Levin in front of him. Being able to interfere with the spell he casts when he is not even close to it, thereby humiliating him, of the 3 people on the opposite side, he is probably the only one who can do this. Levin Green, who gave you the courage to do such a little trick in front of me? Riddle stared at Levin fiercely and said sternly, or is it because you don't know my identity, so it's not enough to make you be loyal to me before I take action, and I will spare your life. Allegiance? To you. After understanding what the other party did, Levin had no reason to tolerate him anymore. Don't think that no one knows your identity. You're just Voldemort. Levin's voice was so soft, as if he was referring to the most insignificant piece of trash in the wastebasket. 16-year-old Voldemort. Tom, who do you think you are? You still want me to swear allegiance? Are you worthy? On your side, if you surrender now and hand over the basilisk, I can spare your life. Facing Tom Riddle in front of him, he was full of confidence. Tom Riddle has indeed been a genius since he was a child, otherwise he would not have become the 2nd-generation Dark Lord. His talent was evident even before he entered school early. During his years at Hogwarts, he accomplished astonishing achievements again and again, and he attracted a group of Slytherin students early on. You may not know the concept of being able to learn a 7-year course in just 1 year. We usually only use 2 words to describe this kind of person: learn to be weird. Unfortunately, what Tom Riddle, a weirdo, encountered was Levin, a bug. Learning monsters can still be understood with talent, but bugs are beyond the rules. But Tom Riddle didn't know this. His understanding of Hogwarts was entirely through Ronald's memory. But Ronald didn't know much about Levin. Even though he had described Levin's genius as best he could, it still sounded true to Tom Riddle's ears. To put it bluntly, how could he, Tom Riddle, the majestic heir of Slytherin, be afraid of a muggle-born genius? Since you refuse to obey, there is nothing I can do. Riddle's tone was very regretful. He waved his hand, and the basilisk behind him crawled towards him obediently. Then Levin heard Riddle's hissing voice, kill them. Chapter 149. After receiving the order from his master, the snake monster raised its huge head and rushed towards the 3 people in front of him. This terrifying monster is more than 15 meters long and has a body thicker than the largest bucket. But his actions when attacking were more accurate and silent than the deadliest poisonous snake. He is worthy of being the king of snakes. Riddle knew very well that the other party had known that he had a basilisk, so he wore an eye mask when he appeared. But wearing eye masks means they give up vision, the biggest way of observation. After all, the snake monster is a snake. What this quiet animal is best at is ambush. If you lose your vision and find it difficult to perceive the snake monster from your hearing and smell, it is still a death. But he didn't know that Levin in front of him actually had a special ability such as psychic energy. He didn't know that while using his spiritual energy to detect, he synchronized his spiritual power to all his companions. So, facing the assault of the Basilico, Hermione and Zilly were as if they could see it, and dodged directly to both sides. Only Levin does not dodge or avoid it. Just when Riddle thought that he was silly dying, the most incredible thing happened to him. Levin's body suddenly began to swell, and then turned into a feathered snake with wings on its back and covered with feathers, several circles smaller than the snake monster. I saw it flapping its wings and flew into the air, flexibly avoiding the attack of the snake monster. This is the legendary feather snake. Your animagus is a magical creature feather snake. No, Ronald clearly said your animagus is a giant eagle. How is this going? Riddle found it incredible, but he soon had no chance to think about it because the two girls had already worked on him. Destroy your weapons. Hermione's attack was fast and accurate, and before Riddle was ready, he had arrived at him. But due to insufficient magic power, he picked it up in one go. But the real killer move comes from Chalira. The hunter used accelerator to herself from the beginning with her already agile skills. Her movements are comparable to lightning. Before Riddle could see clearly, she flashed to him. The sword of the secret magic in his hand slashed at his forehead. This uninhibitable attack made Riddle unable to resist for a moment, so he could only subconsciously dodge sideways. But after seeing the weapon used by the other party, Riddle was not panicked. What era is it, and you still use traditional cold weapons? I wonder if cold weapons can't change the encirclement. Riddle relied on his body as a ghost, and was not afraid of being cut by a long sword. Then he let out a heart-wrenching howl. What era is it, and we still use traditional cold weapons? Now we are all using enchanting weapons. In a hurry, Seely only enchanted a one-ring electric claw, but Riddle was enough to cut off and spoke with a live voice. At the same time, attacks followed one after another. Damn it to the ground. At the same time, Zilly also bullied her body and brewed the next wave of enchantment. I have to say that Miss Wan Shitong's attack is indeed insufficient. But after all, she has experienced Levin's devil training, and every move is always better than most of her peers. At least it was stuck enough to cause some trouble for Riddle. This made Riddle feel a headache. If you don't care about this kind of attack, it will immediately cause you trouble. Even if you can't hit you, it will at least cause you to lose balance. By then, the fierce woman in front of her who was wielding her sword and using magic will take the opportunity to take his life. Resisting the tremor of being electrocuted, Riddle barely blocked the coma curse and was about to retreat. Here, Zilly's attacks followed one after another. Her attack speed is really too fast, and she has extremely accurate positioning. Although Riddle has rich experience in magic duels, he has never seen such a swordsman. He thought he was exquisitely dodged, and he had many flaws in front of Xi. The sword edge of the arcane sword appeared directly in his dodging position, and accurately cut it on its shoulder. Riddle, who is a virtual body, will certainly not be disabled due to slashing. But the damage caused by magic is real. He felt a heavy force hit his shoulder like a siege hammer. Under this force, the whole person seemed to be dyed into powder. Of course, the virtual body will not turn into powder. But the color of the whole person is much dim and transparent. Finally, Riddle could no longer stand this two-on-one turnaround attack. He claims to be a young genius, a master of black magic. Who would have thought that the two little girls in front of me were better than the other? It's obvious that you are blindfolded, but it's like you are not blinded. You're going to a deadly place. Especially Chala, the magic power of surging is no less than that of himself. Just the attack just now, if he did it twice, he would really be wiped out. Riddle didn't know that although he was the young Dark Lord, but opposite Chalira is also an ungrown savior, a rare source of demons in the world of witch hunters in a natural trapped field. In terms of magical talent alone, the other party is even stronger than the Dark Demon King, but there is a problem with controllability. As for Hermione, although she is not a savior, she is also the female lead in this world. Now Riddle can only bully her young age. Anytime she was 16 years old, and with Zilly, Riddle had long been killed under the siege. In contrast, although Voldemort is the final villain boss, Tom Riddle is not him. He is just a little clone of the villain boss. Now that the two big heroines serve you alone, can Riddle's blessing be less? Riddle, who was still proud of himself before, was beaten to the point of being beaten in just 2 rounds. The whole person turned into a burst of black smoke, and suddenly floated back, setting a distance away. As soon as it landed, snake monsters, stop playing, kill them. Can't even get rid of a feathered snake? Let the owner be besieged. What are you, a snake monster, for food? But when he looked at the snake monster, he realized that he had blamed it wrongly and underestimated the feather snake. I saw that the feathered snake was covered with sacred power. Whenever the snake monster approached, it was unbearable for pain. It had to endure the pain of the anti-evil magic formation to fight it. But even so, the attack of the snake monster could not hurt the opponent at all. The flexibility of the feather snake is not comparable to that of a phoenix. The lightning-like reflex nerve makes the snake monster lose its attack no matter what kind of attack. But the feather snake's attack was fatal. Whether it's sharp teeth chewing or tail whipping, A euro please flower sa euro a 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 feather snake's attack has sacred power, just like a powerful enchanting weapon, can ignore the rough skin of the snake monster and directly damage its body. After just a few rounds, the snake monster was beaten to scars. The phoenix that had recovered was flying around nearby, screaming and applauding. It can only be said that the feather snake's restraint on the snake monster is too serious. The snake monster has murderous eyes, and the feather snake is born with spiritual power. The snake monster has a huge body, a strong attack force, and a feathered snake can fly and is extremely sensitive. The snake monster has strong scales, thick skin, and flesh. The feather snake has its own enchantment attack and ignores defense. The snake monster is born with evil and suppresses a number of magical creatures. The feather snake is the representative of the kind camp, and it is your evil creature. In short, the advantages of each snake monster are restrained by the feather snake. This formed a situation where a 5 or 6 meter long feathered snake pressed against a 15 meter long snake monster. The damage caused by hand-to-hand combat, the continuous damage of the anti-evil magic array, even if the snake monster has thick skin and flesh, it is a matter of time before it continues to be killed by the feathered snake. The basil monster was created by Slytherin and followed the Slytherin family for thousands of years, but has never fought such a frustrating battle. Just when it couldn't stand it and tried to escape, the master's call sounded. The snake monster is like being pardoned, and it will pick up soft persimmons and kill them when it turns. Levin, who turned into a feathered snake, was unwilling to let him go. Crown of Radiance. The feathered snake condensed the power of light, and a crown that emitted a brilliant and blazing golden light condensed on top of its head. The light is so dazzling that it is like looking straight at the sun from close range. So the snake monster was stunned at the first time and was almost blind. The snake monster closed his eyes in pain. Now, even the deadly sight is out of service. The feathered snake took this opportunity to pounce on the snake monster, landed beside it, and turned back into a human form in a blink of an eye. Then, Levin suddenly opened his pocket and took out 7 or 8 roosters in succession. You actually have a rooster? No, it turns out that you are the one who stopped Ginny. Seeing the familiar rooster, Riddle suddenly realized that it turned out that the other party had been alert at the beginning. He knew very well that the rooster's crow was fatal to the basil monster. Unfortunately, he retreated too far and was powerless to stop him. While the basilisk was not able to resist for the time being, Levin used the power of the druid to control the attack. Obviously in the dark underground secret room, the roosters crowed in the dawn together. Hiss. 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 The blind snake monster heard the croaker crowing, and the crack developed a crazy hissing sound, and the painful wail made its hissing sound so suffocating. The 15-meter-long huge body rolled on the ground in pain, which shocked Yewanayu, and his roosters hurriedly avoided them from afar. The rooster crowed constantly, and the snake monster became more and more painful. Soon, the wounds caused by Levin began to seep out again, and even more places without injuries began to bleed, and soon it became a small stream. This little black boy seemed to be unable to do it as he cried by Brother G's dawn. Meanwhile, outside the castle, the deepest night of the day is about to pass. On the horizon, the sun on the new day quietly brought the dawn. Chapter 150. Heart cutting out the bones. Fire is raging. Thunderbolt explosion. Not only was his basilisk unable to support him, but he was brutally slaughtered by the opponent. Tom Riddle finally got anxious. He kept waving his wand and casting powerful black magic one after another, trying to complete the breakout and join the basilisk. The opponent transformed into a feathered serpent that completely restrained the basilisk, and then took out a rooster after weakening the basilisk. It was obvious that he had known about the existence of the basilisk and had prepared targeted measures in advance. In this case, the best way is naturally to exchange opponents. Leave the feathered serpent to him to deal with personally, and the basilisk will be able to crush the two girls. This is the best method Riddle has thought of so far, as long as I can get to that place. Hateful. However, no matter how indiscriminately he bombarded and sought a breakthrough, there was still a figure firmly standing in front of his 397. The girl holding the sword. Riddle didn't know how the sword in her hand was made. But the opponent's ability to cut away a magic spell with one sword made him amazed. There is such exquisite swordsmanship in the world, more importantly, there is such a heaven-defying sword in the world. His Cruciatus curse, explosion curse, crushing curse, and even killing curse, almost any spell cast was cut away by the opponent's sword. Only the killing curse made her block for a while. What kind of long sword can have such a heaven-defying effect? Riddle didn't know that the person he was facing was not only a genius wizard, a powerful druid, but also a top alchemist who could refine the Philosopher's Stone. The moment he came into contact with the Philosopher's Stone, Levin's alchemical talent was improved to a level comparable to that of any master alchemist. The experience of refining the Philosopher's Stone with his own hands made him understand the essence of alchemy. This led him to perform a series of unnatural operations when making magic items. After Ciri got this arcane sword 2.0, she knew exactly what kind of artifact the sword in her hand was. In Arcane Sword 2.0, Levin frantically enchanted the blade with a series of spells such as Iron Armor Charm, Counterspell, and Anti-Magic Field. These spells, with Iron Armor Curse as the core, shape Arcane Sword 2.0 into a powerful anti-magic weapon. Under normal circumstances, the Arcane Sword 2.0 is a magic warrior exclusive weapon with strong magical adaptability. But as long as she uses the appropriate method to input magic power into the blade, she can activate the anti-magic function. The stronger the magic input, the stronger the anti-magic ability. In this case, she can use the sword to fight the enemy with magic power. I'll cut off each one of your spells. I, Cyril Lilian Lun, am the inheritor of the ancient blood and a natural source of magic. When it comes to magic power, there are few people in this world who can beat us. The riddle in front of him just didn't know all this, so he suffered a big loss. Among his black magic, only the fierce fire he summoned could bring trouble to Cyrilla. But Hermione was keenly aware that the essence of the power of fire was the flame blessed by black magic. So under her arrangement, she and Ziri used protection from fire damage and anti-evil magic circle respectively to suppress it together. No matter how stubbornly Riddle resists, I can only watch helplessly as the basilisk approaches its end amidst the crowing of the rooster. Seeing that the battle over there was over, Riddle and Harry and Hermione lived in the same way. Looking at Levin's power of killing snake monsters, step by step, they understand that the snake monsters have died, so even if they know. Hilly and Hermione looked at each other, tacitly headed forward, standing on both sides of Levin. Facing the three people in front of you, and the phoenix hovering in the sky, Tom Riddle, who was originally unable to live, was only orphans left, and it seemed weak and helpless. It's my underestimated you, mud species. Riddle, who entered the end, no longer cares about the demeanor, he originally upheld him with elegant airs, and now it is the original shape. The curse of swear words is unsatisfactory. I didn't expect you to guess the real body of the monster in advance, let alone, you actually have a magic of magic animags transformed. And you two followers, you are lucky. The two you find are much stronger than those of the wastes of me that year. Riddle's mouth, Levin heard him find a bunch of failed reasons. The appearance that can't afford to lose is really like a clown. The boy shook his head simply. In any case, victory is victory, it has nothing to do with the descent, and it has nothing to do with luck. My strength is stronger than you, and I defeat you is inevitable. Levin is right. Hermione also added, you only see that we are stronger than your men, but you don't know, I am actually a mud species in your mouth. I can have this power. Levin's careful cultivation. Hilly also waved the sword in his hand. This sword was given to me. Oops, it is indeed my little cotton jacket. One said that one of them was 16 years old, one was 13 years old, one was the Destiny Savior, and the other was the number one in the whole play. Being able to suppress Voldemort at the age of 16 not only rely on Levin's help, but also have their own talent and efforts. Now in front of Voldemort, I have abandoned my own credit and stands well for him. Don't love them for one game. Listening to the praise of the two women, looking at the jealous face in front of Lettle in front of her, Levin's surface was light and light, but her heart was full of joy. Tom Riddle, capture it with your hands. Levin stares at the boy Voldemort, a faint way, if you don't have a backhand, just put down the wand obediently and raise your hand to surrender. No, I do have another reign. Having said that, Riddle suddenly turned into a black smoke, and quickly came to Harry, who was lying on the corpse, pointed the wand at his head, and yelled at Levin, now, let the way out, otherwise I am otherwise me just kill Potter. You don't want to watch him die, right? Seeing this scene, Levin just stunned for 2 seconds, and couldn't help laughing. Ha 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 ha. Unexpectedly, I didn't expect, your Tom Riddle would be forced to this step. He stared at the transparent black wizard in front of him, and said with an extremely 0.0 serious tone, then you kill, as long as you kill him, I have to face the pain of killing my classmates, and receive the condemnation of my conscience. Or, you are good at riddle? Unwilling to murder an innocent teenager, even if it killed your ontology and causes the dead to eat. Levin provoked Riddle. It seemed that he had to kill Harry. While saying this, his left hand grasped Hermione's hand tightly and held the wand, implying her calm. Levin's abnormal threat made Riddle a shock, and there was another feeling of knowing each other. I seem to have heard of this. The next moment he raised his wand and said with a fierce tone, do you think I would hesitate? No, your group of mud species. Avada Kedavra. A green light lit in the dense room. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.